Cold and aloof, jealous Su Yingxue couldn't help but laugh. Qin Mayan was persistent. However, his persistence was adorable, and it didn't cause any annoyance. She gave Qin Mayan the medicine and then returned to Chu Yuhan's side. As she entered the room, she caught sight of Ziwei. He was accustomed to lurking in the darkness, not showing himself or causing any disturbance. But whenever she was in danger, he would immediately stand in front of her. That sense of security was truly comforting. Su Yingxue smiled at him. In the darkness, Ziwei's cold heart skipped a beat. Her smile was so beautiful. Being by Chu Yuhan's side made him less icy. When he wasn't sleepy, he would engage in casual conversation with her. As they discussed the palace's situation that day, Su Yingxue gained insight into Chu Yuhan's thoughts. She understood why he hadn't seized the throne and instead allowed Chu Mingyuan to sit on it. It was his way of punishing Chu Mingyuan. However, the Empress' behavior surprised Su Yingxue. Seated at the head of the bed, with her right hand interlocked with Chu Yuhan's left, Su Yingxue asked, "Why did she go to the imperial study today? Isn't she afraid you'll kill her?" The Empress must be afraid of death, especially of Chu Yihan. She wasn't looking for the imperial brother, Chu Yihan replied calmly. She was looking for her son. Her son? Speaking of Chu Chengye, I wonder if he's still alive. Should I go take a look? Suddenly, Su Yingxue remembered poisoning Chu Chengye. Could he be dead now? The poison was potent, and if a person had weak willpower, they might succumb to the torment and end their suffering. Don't go. Chu Yihan pressed her down, his strength domineering. What does his life and death have to do with you? Do you still want to see him? The last question carried a dangerous tone. It sent shivers down Su Yingxue's arms. Shaking her head, she said, "No, let him be. It wouldn't be a loss if he dies anyway." Su Yingxue's indifferent attitude reassured Chu Yihan. His smile deepened. "What are you laughing at, Your Highness? I don't care if Chu Chengye lives or dies. Are you that happy?" Su Yingxue couldn't understand. Chu Yihan nodded. "Yes. Ever since you fell in love with him, I've wanted to kill him for a long time." Su Yingxue was shocked. Really? Chu Chengye was Chu Yihan's nephew after all. Was the imperial uncle so ruthless? "When he made you cry, I broke his leg," Chu Yihan mentioned casually. Su Yingxue recalled the incident and slapped her thigh. "So it was Your Highness doing back then?" 2 years ago, she had confessed her feelings to Chu Chengye, urged by Su Yuro. Chu Chengye publicly embarrassed her by rejecting her. She returned home in tears. A few days later, she heard that Chu Chengye had broken his leg while riding a horse. So it wasn't an accident. Someone was jealous. Su Yingxue touched Chu Yihan's face, feeling extremely sweet in her heart. Despite his high and aloof appearance, he was truly attractive. He loved her so much. The night was still young, and she fell asleep leaning against Chu Yihan as he slept beside her. Later in the night, Su Qingji came to check on them. Su Wei followed behind him. They reached the door and saw Su Yingxue and Chu Yihan asleep on the bed. Su Wei immediately spoke up, "Master, isn't this against the rules? After all, Miss and Your Highness haven't." Su Qingji interrupted him with a push and took him outside. He instructed Jilan to close the door and guard the medicine hut, not allowing any servants from the residence to approach. A different woman, Jilan, was exceptionally meticulous. Su Qingji left with Su Wei. Su Wei wanted to say something but hesitated a few times. However, seeing Su Qingji's relaxed appearance, he did not say anything else. When they reached the ancestral hall, Su Qingji spoke. "Ah Wei, do you think that I didn't let Yingxue follow the rules like the other children?" Su Wei nodded subconsciously. Although General has agreed to Ninth Prince's proposal and his marriage with Miss Yingxue has been decided, they are not married yet. Miss reputation is more important. If it were any other granddaughter, Hainer or Miao Miao, I would chase the person on the bed away and punish them. Su Qingji's stern expression didn't seem like he was joking. However, he had also said that if it was anyone else, Su Yingxue was not included. This was indulgence and favoritism towards Su Yingxue. "General, you didn't object to Ninth Prince and Miss Yingxue being together. You just wanted to see how sincere Ninth Prince was to Miss Yingxue and which one he would choose in the future." Su Wei pointed out the main point. This was Su Qingzi's painstaking effort, and he didn't know if Su Yingxue would understand. Su Qingji stroked his beard. I've never been dissatisfied with the ninth prince. It's just that the royal family is complicated, and his identity is no different from the emperor. Look, even the emperor can't do anything to him with the imperial seal that he brought today. That's why I let him compete with Xiao Yu and Qin Mayan. Young Master Xiao was easily persuaded by the ninth prince because he wanted to marry the miss for the sake of his family. The Scarlet Flame King was defeated by his loyalty. If he would stab the ninth prince in the back, he would have won. But I will not let Yingxue marry him. How can I entrust my life to a disloyal and unjust person? Su Qingji snorted. However, he was very lucky. These three people who liked Su Yingxue were all loyal and outstanding people. Su Yingxue had also chosen the person she loved. His heart was extremely at ease. When Su Wei saw Su Qingji like this, he couldn't help but think of how he treated Long Shuli. He smiled and said, "The general's treatment of Miss Yingxue isn't any worse than the second madam. However, Miss Yingxue is not bold enough to pull your beard." Su Qingji was stunned for a moment. He touched his beard, which was not long, and instantly thought of Long Shuli's action. She always said that his body was good and his beard could be used as medicine. She secretly wanted to cut it. If the hard way didn't work, then the soft way. She didn't even know how much of his beard he had made her grow. When the hard way didn't work, she resorted to the soft approach. He couldn't count how many times she had tinkered with his beard. She claimed it could save lives, so sacrificing a bit of beard was no big deal. His beard was always trimmed in half by Long Shuli, leaving it neither long nor short. After Long Shuli left, even as his beard grew longer, he still habitually trimmed it like she used to. That daughter whom he had adored so dearly. Since Yingxue is Shuli's daughter, there's no need to treat her like an ordinary woman. If she looks like Shuli, then so be it. This was how Su Qingji viewed Su Yingxue. Long Shuli was a little fairy who had fallen into their world by mistake. He had never reprimanded her for changing her, but she had instead changed her. Now, there was still Su Yingxue. She was also a different girl. Then, he must protect her like he protected Shuli. He would not change her, as long as he let her do what she wanted to do. She and Ninth Prince won't do anything out of line. If they do, no one can say anything when they become husband and wife. When Su Yingxue was mentioned, Su Qingzi's eyes were filled with love. Chapter 722. Through Su Jingshuan's tricks, Su Wei didn't say anything else, simply smiling beside Su Qingji. They sat in the ancestral hall for a while longer before Su Wei received the news. "General, he's back." The affection in Su Qingzi's eyes instantly vanished, replaced by an unfathomable gaze. "Bring him here." "Yes, sir." Su Wei immediately went to Su Jingshuan's courtyard. Su Jinxian had narrowly escaped death and finally returned. Before he could even apply the golden wound medicine, he was dragged away by Su Wei. "Deputy General Su, what are you doing?" "I'm the young master of the residence. Why are you treating me like this?" Su Jinxian had fought for a day and a night, exhausted from his efforts to escape from Chu Yuhan's shadow guards. Little did he know, there was such a heavy trap waiting for him here. He had thought that with Su Yingxue around, the Marquis Manor would be the most dangerous yet safest place. Su Wei forcefully dragged him to the ancestral hall and threw him in. Bang! The sound of his body hitting the ground echoed. Su Jingshuan's evil eyes darkened. Seeing Su Qingji standing tall like a pine tree, he subconsciously wanted to kill the old man. He was so biased towards Su Yingxue, and now they had captured him and brought him here. But if he wanted to live, he couldn't afford to offend him now. He got up and knelt, putting on a very obedient look. "Grandfather, I'm sorry for worrying you with my injuries. I'm unfilial." "In front of me, how long do you intend to keep up this act, little brat?" Su Qingji walked up to him, pressing his powerful palm on Su Jingshuan's shoulder. Su Jinxian immediately felt like his shoulder was about to break. It hurt. This was where he had been stabbed, so deep that it reached the bone. It was the most serious wound he had sustained. Su Jingshuan's eyes filled with deep hatred. Damn old man. He had barely escaped with his life, only to be met with this kind of treatment. Su Qingji, you old fart. Your injuries are not light, yet you still know how to cry out in pain, you little brat. Su Qingji took the handkerchief from Su Wei and wiped the blood off his hands. Grandfather, your grandson is injured and suffering. I hope you'll let me heal first. Otherwise, if my injuries worsen, he'll have no choice but to leave you. Su Jingshuan's rational mind told him that Su Qingji was cunning and wise. He could only feign vulnerability to gain his sympathy. After all, he was an old fox. But Su Qingzi's reaction always caught him off guard. Even if you died in front of our ancestors, there would be nothing to regret. Having an unfilial descendant like you is a disgrace to the Su family. You deserve to die. Su Qingzi's tone was stern. Su Jingshuan's heart trembled violently, a wave of humiliation washing over him. Subconsciously, he gripped the short knife at his waist. Su Qingji, you old fart. What? You still want to kill me? Go ahead, give it a try, Su Qingji said domineeringly. Su Jinxian clenched his teeth tightly, suppressing the urge to act. He lowered his head, not letting his emotions show. I wouldn't dare. Even if you wanted my life, I wouldn't complain. If you were a true man of the Su family, you wouldn't resort to such insincere speech. Learn from your mother's fake ways. Su Qingji pointed at him in disgust. If you had dared to attack me just now, I would have respected you as a man. But you didn't dare. You only know how to scheme behind people's backs, colluding with the 7th prince to harming Xue and the 9th prince. Su Jinxian, have you no shame? Chapter 723. The difference is so great. Su Jingshuan's muscles spasmed violently. He raised his head, his eyes full of shock. Su Qingji, you know everything. He had disguised himself so well and was so careful when he went out. Even Su Yingxue and the assassin around her did not notice him, but Su Qingji knew about it. You know everything. Su Jinxian couldn't hide his astonishment. Of course, I know everything. There is not a single corner in the Marquis of Marshall South's manor that can escape my eyes, Su Qingji replied calmly. Su Qingji snorted coldly. When you returned to the residence, I told you that if you were to be a descendant of the Su family, you would have a title. But not only were you not at ease, you even plotted against your eldest sister, colluded with the imperial family, and attempted to rebel. Su Jinxian, you're not worthy of being a descendant of the Su family until you die. Why? Why am I not worthy? Su Jinxian stood up despite his injuries. Blood splattered all over his face. In front of the candlelight, his dark eyes were filled with anger and unwillingness. Just because my mother didn't enter the residence, my father was weak and incompetent, and am not a legitimate son, I don't deserve the surname Su? Why? He pointed at the memorial tablets that filled the ancestral hall and roared. They are all surnamed Su. They can be worshipped here after death and have a home to return to. But what about me? My surname is also Su, and am also of the Su family's bloodline. However, I've never entered the Su family's door openly since I was young, and I've never had a good meal with the Su family. Why should I be treated like this? Why should my mother and sister die tragically? Because you have evil intentions and insulted the Su family. Su Qingji pointed at Su Jinxian. Back then, your mother used dirty methods to give birth to you and your sister. She even persecuted the mistress of the Marquis Manor. This is already an additional crime. Considering that the two of you are of the Su family's bloodline, I did not kill her. But how did she do it? Deceiving your father and letting your sister enter the manor. How many troubles have you caused in Marquis Manor? How many schemes have you schemed against my 2 legitimate grandsons? 2 legitimate grandsons? Su Jingshuan's cold face had a mocking smile on it. We're both grandsons, but you're always biased towards Su Hao and Su Yingxue. Do you think of me and my sister as the descendants of the Su family again? Presumptuous. Young master, how dare you speak to old master like this? Su Wei berated. He had fought with Su Qingji for many years, but he had never dared to be so arrogant in front of Su Qingji. Shut up and let him speak. Today, I will make him understand. Su Qingji chased Su Wei out and faced Su Jinxian calmly. Your birth and your sister's was a mistake. I truly hate a sinister person like your mother. However, you're both descendants of the Su family. It's not that I don't take you and your sister seriously. It's just that you and your sister have evil intentions and are disappointing. Su Qingji recounted in detail. When your sister entered the family, I treated her and Yingxue together, but she secretly instigated Yingxue to harm Hauer and even stole Yingxue's things. She was even more jealous of her identity and repeatedly used your father to frame her. This was her doing. You grew up outside, and I have looked for a teacher and master for you, but you refused to accept them. You insisted on learning unorthodox ways and evil martial arts. Later on, you even acknowledged Wu Dao as your master. This is your doing. Your father has 4 children, Su Hao and Yingxue. They are the children of Shu Li. Now, Su Hao is a general, guarding bamboo leaf pass for the country. As a doctor, Yingxue was benevolent and had saved tens of thousands of patients in Jiangdu City. You're all descendants of the Su family. I've given you the same chance, but the difference between you is so great. Cripple his martial arts. The children of 2 different mothers grew up so differently. Su Jinxian couldn't listen to Su Qingzi's reasoning. There was only resentment in his heart. This is all caused by your bias. Why didn't you bring me back then? Why must I be looked down upon and ridiculed outside? It's all your fault. Do you think I don't want to be like Su Hao? I don't have the chance. Even if I bring you back, you won't be able to become Su Hao. When you and Su Hao entered the military camp together, I was 100 times stricter with Su Hao than you. Have you forgotten how you entered the military camp? It was your father who used money and connections to put you in. Su Qingji gave him a stern warning. You have your parents' favoritism, but Su Hao only has me, his grandfather, who is strict with him. If you are jealous, why don't you dare to compete with Su Hao in the arena? This is because you don't dare. You know you're inferior. Su Jinxian held his head and covered his ears as if he couldn't hear Su Qingji. No, it's not like that. I'm not inferior to Su Hao. It is your unfairness that caused today's situation. If I were also the son of the Marquis Manor, if I also had a noble status, there are no it's. Everything has been placed in front of you. You chose the wrong path. Now, you have to bear the consequences yourself. Su Qingzi's last sentence was sincere and even carried a trace of reluctance. Su Jinxian sensed danger. He touched the short knife at his waist and stood up. What do you want? Old man, I'm warning you if you... Alt. Su Wei hurried in from outside. He thought that Su Qingji was injured, but he didn't expect to see the scene of him capturing Su Jinxian. Su Jinxian thought that he was fast enough and sinister enough to stab the poison knife into Su Qingzi's body. However, Su Qingji did not even give him the chance to pull out his knife. He held his hand down and cut his bone with his backhand. His hands were like dragon claws, crushing his bones and breaking his tendons. All. Su Jinxian screamed in pain. Every vein on his face was bulging, and his face turned red. He felt as if all the veins in his body had ruptured, and the blood in his body was running wildly. Every part of his body felt as if it was being cut by a blade. I don't want to die. Su Jinxian fell to the ground with a thud. His limbs kept twitching, and his white eyes were filled with unwillingness. No, no, no. I can't die. Su Qingzi's heart ached when he saw him like this. He was his grandson after all. He wiped his eyes, and in the blink of an eye, he became another iron-blooded family head. He told Su Jinxian, the Su family is full of loyalty and will never allow disloyal and unjust people to enter the ancestral hall's genealogy. Now that you've harmed Yingxue and colluded with her to rebel, they'll cripple your martial arts. From now on, if you're willing to stay in the Marquis Manor in peace, you'll have a place. However, if you still want to cause trouble, they'll put righteousness above family and personally tie you up and send you to the 9th prince. No, no, no. Su Jinxian let out a heart-wrenching roar. He hated it. He was unwilling. You old fart. You can't do this to me. Why? When Su Jinxian was dragged away, he shouted until his throat was broken. What right did he have to cripple his martial arts? What right did he have to let him stay in the Marquis Manor for the rest of his life as a cripple, just because he hurt his beloved granddaughter, Su Yingxue? This was unfair. He was also a member of the Su family. Princess Consort was wise. Chu Yihan rested in the Marquis Manor for a day. When he woke up, Su Yingxue informed him that Emochi had arrived. Originally, Su Yingxue didn't want him to exert himself too much, considering his severe injuries, and should rest more. However, Emochi insisted that there were many matters to attend to after the battle, so she reluctantly helped Chu Yihan up. Emochi knelt halfway before Chu Yihan and reported, "The conflict has subsided. The garrison from Yinyun City has returned. The former commander of the Imperial Guards has been executed. The Lan family's guards have dispatched pursuers. As for the seventh prince, he seemed to have begun self-harming due to his delirium. By the time we arrived, he was already a cripple." A cripple? What did he do? Su Yingxue was particularly curious. After all, Chu Chengye had tested the poison for her. He castrated himself, Emochi revealed, causing Su Yingxue's expression to stiffen. "He must be unable to cope with the situation," she commented. However, Chu Yihan smirked slightly. "In that case, there's no need to be merciless. Send him back to the prince's residence and assign someone to watch over him." "Yes, your highness." Emochi felt his master was strangely gleeful. Su Yingxue was surprised that Chu Yihan spared Chu Chengye's life. After all, Chu Chengye had triggered Chu Yihan's bloodlust and even led troops to encircle him. Typically, in such a rebellion, the victor would eliminate potential threats. Curiously, Su Yingxue blinked at Chu Yihan. His eyes seemed profound. "He's just a cripple. I won't waste my time with him. I'll spare him because he addressed me as imperial uncle. Why do I feel sparing his life is more cruel than killing him?" Su Yingxue tilted her head. Emochi thought, "Princess Consort, you've caught on. A defeated general stripped of his dignity as a man. What's the point of keeping him alive?" Chu Yihan heard Su Yingxue's remark. "Instruct those guarding Chu Chengye not to let him commit suicide," he ordered. Emochi clenched his teeth. "Yes, master," he replied, feeling his master's ruthlessness. "Who will your highness appoint as the new commander of the Imperial Guards?" This was a critical military issue that couldn't be left unresolved. Chu Yihan pondered for a moment. "You will temporarily assume the role. The Imperial Guards need reorganization. They'll decide after I've recovered. Also, have you found the individual who attacked me that day?" On the day they were besieged by Chu Chengye, there was a highly skilled man who plotted against Su Yingxue, exacerbating her bloodthirstiness. He was also associated with Chu Chengye. While Chu Yihan might spare Chu Chengye, he would never spare his accomplice. When Chu Yihan mentioned this, Emochi glanced at Su Yingxue, but remained silent for a moment. Feeling Emochi's gaze, Su Yingxue said, "Don't tell me you think that person has something to do with me, or is within the Marquis Manor?" Emochi nodded vigorously. "Princess Consort, you're astute. He's someone from your household," Su Yingxue concluded, rubbing her chin. Although she hadn't seen the person clearly, his slim figure and ruthless attacks hinted at his involvement with her and his presence within the Marquis Manor. "Su Jinxian." Su Yingxue gritted her teeth. Emochi nodded. "Princess Consort, you're wise. He has exceptional lightness skills." The Shadow Guards were on the verge of catching up to him, but once he entered the Marquis Manor, they dared not pursue. Therefore, Chu Yihan's actions against this person would depend on Su Yingxue's response. With a stern expression, Su Yingxue declared, "Your Highness, I'll immediately capture him. You can deal with him as you see fit." Su Jinxian had lingered for too long. She hastened to Su Jingxuan's courtyard, only to find her grandfather had stationed guards there, preventing anyone from entering. Aster, save me when Su Yingxue tried to enter. Su Wei was notified to come over. He brought Su Yingxue to see Su Jinxian. Su Jinxian lay on the bed, looking weak and barely breathing. Su Yingxue lifted his blanket, pinched his bones, and clicked her tongue. "He's badly injured." However, they didn't manage to injure Su Jinxian so severely that day. His current state, with Su Wei present, could only be attributed to Grandpa's actions. Su Wei looked at Su Yingxue. The general knew Miss would come, so he asked me to inquire if Miss was satisfied with this outcome. Can you explain to Ninth Prince? Su Yingxue was naturally dissatisfied. For someone who had tried to harm her several times, becoming a corpse was the safest option. However, after she informed Chu Yihan, he said, since he's already crippled, he'll spare his life for old General Su's sake. However, Sister Han told me he's Wu Dao's disciple. She wasn't afraid of Su Jingxuan's threat. He was just a cripple now. But Wu Dao, that was the bomb buried in her mind. Wu Dao isn't someone he can command alone, nor someone you can handle alone. Trust me, he'll protect you. Chu Yihan hugged Su Yingxue and patted her back gently. Su Yingxue pursed her lips. All right, for your highness' sake, he'll spare Su Jingxuan's life. After visiting Su Jinxian, Su Yingxue replied to Su Qingji, considering Chu Yihan's actions as giving Su Qingji a face. Su Qingji personally visited him, and then courteously escorted him out of the Marquis Manor. After Su Yingxue's visit, Su Jingxuan's courtyard became off-limits. Except for those who attended to his meals, no one else was allowed in. He was now just a good-for-nothing who would rely on others for the rest of his life. Indignantly, Su Jinxian lay on the bed. He didn't care what others thought. He knew he wouldn't be so useless. Before his return, he had sent out a signal that his master would come for him. Night fell. The transition from cold autumn to winter, the beginning of frost, and the fine snow added to the chilliness of the night. Dressed in black robes, she pushed open Su Jingxuan's door. Impatiently, Su Jinxian stood up, opened his eyes, and shouted excitedly, Master! Master is finally here! Master! Save me! Wu Dao walked up to Su Jinxian and checked his injuries. His exceptionally cold voice rang out, Your shoulder blade is shattered. Your veins are all broken, and you've lost all your martial skills. You're crippled. Su Jinxian didn't care. He looked at Wu Dao with bright eyes. Master, your medical skills are much better than Su Yingxue's. You can save me. Master, please save me and let me continue to seek revenge. I promise to kill Su Yingxue. No need. It's too much trouble to save you. You can't do anything. Wu Dao sneered. Su Jinxian had collaborated with Chu Chengye. Now that the emperor was under Chu Yihan's control, and Chu Chengye was crippled, what use was Su Jinxian to them? The entire Great Qing dynasty was now Chu Yihan's world. Su Yingxue, the future 9th princess consort, was equivalent to the mother of the country. Su Jinxian was no longer her match. No, master, am still useful. I am still your source of blood. How will you survive without my blood type? Su Jingxuan's eyes widened. He knew very well why Wu Dao had chosen him. Wu Dao had a serious blood disease and needed his blood to survive. The origin of Wu Dao and Long Shuli Wu Dao's eyes, hidden beneath the black cloak, fixed on Su Jinxian. In the dim light, his skin appeared dark and spotted, giving him a ferocious and terrifying appearance. Are you threatening me? Su Jingxuan's body tensed up. I dare not. Though he feared Wu Dao, he was acutely aware that only Wu Dao could save him in his current predicament. Master, please save me. Considering the blood shed by both my sister and me for you, I implore you to heal me. I will ensure Su Yingxue's demise in return. Su Jinxian pleaded with all his might. He resembled a man hanging from a cliff, clinging desperately to any hope of survival. However, Wu Dao paid him no heed. From his sleeve, he produced a thick needle and callously drew blood from Su Jinxian. While Wu Dao's demeanor remained grim, a glimmer of desire and excitement flickered in his eyes at the sight of fresh blood. Su Jinxian had his blood drawn and kept pleading with Wu Dao, but he didn't take it to heart. After the blood was drawn, he left, heartless and cold. Su Jinxian, capable of only moving his tongue, summoned his remaining strength to shout after Wu Dao's departing figure. Wu Dao, you refuse to heal me because you cannot bear to harm Su Yingxue? Is that it? Wu Dao halted his steps, his narrowed eyes exuding a sinister and terrifying aura. With a slight parting of his thin lips, he uttered two chilling words, "How foolish! How could Wu Dao bear to harm Su Yingxue? Isn't it true? Aren't you unwilling to act against Su Yingxue because she is Long Shuli's daughter? Wu Dao, do not deny it. You have developed an affection for Long Shuli. You are cold-blooded and heartless. Your infatuation with your disciple, Long Shuli, led to all of this." Su Jingshuan's accusations escalated rapidly. In the blink of an eye, Wu Dao appeared before Su Jinxian, his hands grasping his neck. Emaciated and scarred, Wu Dao's hands inspired revulsion. Wu Dao's voice was frigid. "Do not presume that your understanding equates to the truth. You are merely self-righteous. I have been intelligent since childhood. After so many years as your disciple, I am confident in my perceptions. If you truly harbored no affection for Long Shuli, why would you instigate our family to oppose her?" Su Jinxian retorted defiantly. Heh. Ha 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 ha. Wu Dao laughed coldly, seemingly crazed. "If I liked her, would I have tossed her to your father? Do you think you've uncovered many things about me?" "Of course, I have uncovered many things." Su Jinxian smirked. "You tossed her to my father because she defied you and went against your wishes. You wanted to humiliate her, and my father happened to pass by and took advantage of the situation. You hope to suppress Long Shuli with this incident, but Long Shuli is no ordinary woman. Not only was she not suppressed, but she also used my father's identity to enter the Marquis Manor, becoming a renowned divine doctor. She has never submitted to you, even in death. Never yielded." Wu Dao's hands tightened. Despite his surgical expertise, these hands, even without surgical tools, could suffocate and torment with far greater intensity than an ordinary person. "Su Jinxian, you know too much," Wu Dao growled, his eyes ablaze with fury. Su Jinxian, undeterred by Wu Dao's anger, continued vehemently. "Wu Dao, master, my assertions are correct. You failed to obtain Long Shuli, so what if you eliminated her? She had a son and a daughter, both exceptional individuals. Your jealousy and madness are futile." "Set a wedding date, you raised me and my sister, yet you failed to defeat them. That's your failure. You'll never overcome Long Shuli in your lifetime." "Shut up." Wu Dao's anger was palpable. "Ha ha ha. I want. Su Yingxue has been hindering your plans for so long. Though you pretend to want her gone, you can't bring yourself to truly kill her. All your attempts have been thwarted by her. Su Yingxue is no longer someone you can simply dispose of. She's the 9th princess consort. You won't be able to kill her." What a joke. Wu Dao's laughter was particularly hoarse, his mouth twisted into a cold sneer. "I taught her mother. She was born in an era like yours. How could I not kill her?" "Then go ahead and kill her." Su Jinxian roared. "It's not time yet. There's no rush." "No rush? Or are you afraid? You've regretted killing Long Shuli for years. So when you see Su Yingxue, it's like seeing Long Shuli. Even though Long Shuli ruined your plans to conquer the 4 kingdoms and become the ruler of the world, you still can't bring yourself to kill Su Yingxue. In the future, Su Yingxue will surely kill you, just like Long Shuli, utterly destroy you." Su Jinxian, using his last ounce of strength, shouted these words before immediately biting off his tongue. Blood gushed from his mouth. Wu Dao tried to staunch the bleeding, but he couldn't save him. As Su Jinxian closed his eyes, they were filled with relief. It was over. His life had ended, but he knew Su Yingxue's ordeal was about to begin. Without him as a blood source, Wu Dao would have to go after Su Yingxue. Without blood, he would perish. Wu Dao was cunning and ruthless. His medical skills surpassed Long Shuli's, and his power exceeded Chu Yuhan's. His ambition was to dominate the 4 kingdoms and make everyone submit to him. Su Yingxue had a vendetta against him for killing her mother. He would have killed Su Yingxue, and Su Yingxue would have surely wanted to kill him too. Both the one who caused his death and the one he sought to kill would meet a tragic end. Though Su Jinxian was still unwilling, he was content. His death would usher in a torrent of bloodshed. Wu Dao discarded Su Jingshuan's body and, while his blood was still fresh, extracted all he could with a syringe. He took the blood and departed. A thin layer of snow had already covered the ground. He looked down at the moonlit green stone slab, his eyes filled with greed and longing. The moonlight must be beautiful at this moment, but he was not worthy of the light. In this life, he could only dwell in darkness. How despicable! Chui Han recuperated for a few days and settled matters in the palace. Then, he came to discuss marriage arrangements with Su Qingji. He brought along Lin Qin, the Minister of Rites, and the Si Tianjian and carefully recounted all the wedding arrangements he had made in the past few days in front of everyone at the Marquis Manor. Su Qingji, seated at the head, wore a complex expression. Su Dingheng and Su Dingwei sat below, their expressions also complex. Su Yingxue, Su Han, and Su Miaoyan sat at the back, each with a different expression. Su Qingji pondered, "Isn't the wedding date next month a bit rushed?" "This is an auspicious date," Chui Han declared loudly. "It's not rushed." Si Tianjian shifted his portly frame and grinned with a joyous and auspicious expression. "Old General, the 8th of next month is the best day in the past 6 months. It's the perfect day for a wedding, especially for the 9th prince. It's a cause for celebration." "Look at how he treated Su Yingxue." Su Qingji nodded. "Since Si Tianjian says so, we'll do as your highness says. However, the betrothal gifts and ceremony." Su Qingji glanced at the courtyard, filled with piles of items, feeling a bit worried. Su Dingheng's hands, tucked into his sleeves, fidgeted uneasily. "Your highness' betrothal gifts are quite generous. When the emperor appointed the empress, he only gave 120 betrothal gifts. Today, Chui Han had sent 360 boxes, 3 times the number the emperor had sent to the empress. Where would they store all of these if the Marquis Manor wasn't spacious enough?" Chui Han, unconcerned, remarked, "Everything I have belongs to the princess consort. It's not excessive." Su Dingheng instantly fell silent. When it came to Su Dingwei and Qin Wan, although Qin Wan was shocked, she didn't intend to speak up. However, her husband was an honest man. He said, "Your Highness, there are customary procedures for your wedding ceremony. On the day of your wedding, you have to worship your ancestors and open an imperial ancestral temple. Is this too extravagant?" For an ordinary family to open an ancestral hall, all their relatives had to be present to discuss matters. Opening an imperial ancestral hall required the presence of all imperial family members, bowing and kowtowing. When they proceeded to the ancestral hall, commoners would kneel and greet them. This kind of grandeur was unprecedented, even for the emperor. Chui Han remained calm. "As a member of the imperial family, I naturally have to inform my ancestors of my marriage. I won't make it public." All their concerns and feelings of impropriety were brushed aside by Chui Han. As Su Yingxue's elders, they had nothing to say. Chui Han's gaze softened as it landed on Su Yingxue. "Is there anything else you're unhappy with? Do you want anything else?" "Oh my God." Lin Qin and Si Tianjian were so shocked they could barely speak. When they replied to Chui Han, they were drenched in cold sweat. When had they ever seen Chui Han smile? But the smile he directed at Su Yingxue was beyond words. How many lifetimes would one need to cultivate to see such a divine visage? Lin Qin was dumbfounded. Su Yingxue pursed her lips and shook her head. "It's nothing." Chui Han could sense her indifference, and the tension around him eased. "You don't have any objections? Is there something you're dissatisfied with, or are you dissatisfied with everything?" His piercing gaze shifted to Lin Qin and Si Tianjian. The two immediately knelt. "Please instruct us, Miss Su. If there are any shortcomings, we will rectify them immediately." Although Lin Qin had been treated by Su Yingxue before, he felt a sense of camaraderie. But now, in front of Chui Han, he had no choice but to kneel. Si Tianjian, adept at reading expressions, tried to say something to please Chui Han. "Perhaps Miss Su feels that the wedding date is too distant?" Chui Han's expression instantly softened. "Is that what you think? I can arrange for a closer date." No need. The 8th of next month is already quite soon. Discussing marriage made Su Yingxue nervous. Su Han stepped in to ease her sister's tension. Your Highness, she's just shy. Your wedding is much more complicated than that of an ordinary noble. She's never experienced it before, so she's a bit overwhelmed. Please forgive her. Su Yingxue glanced gratefully at Su Han. What a wonderful sister. She didn't know what else to say. Carrying betrothal gifts, that's right, brother-in-law. If one were the sister, I would also be shocked. Your Highness has prepared the marriage too thoroughly. We can all see your Highness' deep love for sister. Su Miaoyan said crisply. Chu Yihan was thoroughly delighted when she referred to your Highness as brother-in-law, successfully charming him. Chu Yihan promised her, when you get married in the future, brother-in-law will prepare a generous dowry for you. Su Miaoyan was a little excited and a little shy. Although Miaoyan is still young. But, thank you, brother-in-law. She bowed and thanked Chu Yihan. Then, she turned around and pulled Su Yingxue to shout, Sister, brother-in-law is good. Su Yingxue's face was already red, but she was embarrassed by her teasing. She gently pinched Su Miaoyan's cheek. You, just wait. When you get married in the future, 111 teach you a lesson. Su Miaoyan did not care and stuck out her tongue. When one get married in the future, sister and brother-in-law will have children running all over the place. How would you have the time to deal with me? After Su Miaoyan finished speaking, she was afraid of being beaten by Su Yingxue and ran away in time. Fortunately, the elders of the Su family did not have any objections to Chu Yihan's arrangements. Chu Yihan came over today and settled everything. When he left, he seemed to be in a good mood. Since Su Yingxue's wedding date was set, everyone in the Marquis Manor, starting from Su Jingzi, would be busy with her. As there were many complicated formalities, Lin Qin had no choice but to stay behind and explain in detail to everyone in the Marquis Manor. He even wrote a long list for Su Yingxue, so that she would not be nervous after she had simply read through the process. Su Yingxue looked at Lin Qin's list, and the corners of her mouth twitched. Aren't you nervous? It was just that the worship of thousands of people was enough for her. Miss Su, you mustn't be nervous. If you sneeze, your Highness will cut off my head. Lin Qin felt a slight weakness in his knees as he settled into his seat. In the past, Su Yingxue was the one who prescribed the prescription for him. Now, he did not even dare to trouble Su Yingxue to write a single word. He tried his best to persuade Su Yingxue. Miss Su, don't worry. I'm just going through these things for you. When the time comes, there will be the royal bridesmaids and the various imperial wives who will settle everything for you. You only need to walk around and don't have to worry about anything. Only then did Su Yingxue relax a little. All right, then he'll have to trouble Lord Lin. Miss, you're welcome. Lin Qin stood up and watched Su Yingxue leave before sitting down again. After Su Yingxue left, the huge front hall resumed its busy state. When Su Xinlan and Yi Zhanjin arrived, Su Qingji and the other men were busy, and only Su Han could entertain them. Su Xinlan was extremely dissatisfied. Su Han served her tea, but she refused to drink it. What's wrong with that? Even if I'm married off, I'm still the daughter of the Marquis Manor. When I come back, I can't even sit in the front hall. Yet it's still you serving tea. Where's Su Yingxue? Su Han smiled politely. Aunt, please forgive me. It's the 9th prince who came to deliver the betrothal gifts and discuss the wedding today. So Grandpa, Daddy, and second uncle are busy with Yingxue's wedding. Yingxue also has her things to do, so she can't come to see you. Please forgive me. 9th prince is sending betrothal gifts? From the entrance to the front hall, those boxes were all sent by 9th prince? Yi Zhenxin's face was filled with disbelief. Su Han nodded and replied, Yes, what is it? That many? Su Xinlan's voice became sharp. That's one of 200 things. Why did the 9th prince give so much to Su Yingxue? Jealousy keeps me awake. This was infuriating. Even if Yi Zhanjin, the county lord, were to marry in the future, she wouldn't find a family in the Great Qing dynasty that could offer such extravagant betrothal gifts. It was maddening. Yi Zhenjin felt the same anger, though she didn't blurt it out like Su Xinlan. Sorry, Aunt. Su Han calmly interjected. The betrothal gifts from your highness total 360 caddies. Her voice was soft but hit Su Xinlan and Yi Zhenjin like a heavy blow. What? 360 caddies? Su Xinlai's voice was sharp. Since the founding of the Great Cheng dynasty, no one had ever presented such lavish betrothal gifts. This was unprecedented. Su Xinlan was deeply frustrated, while Yi Zhenjin seethed with jealousy. She was burning with jealousy. Observing their reactions, Su Han smirked satisfactorily and left. Once Su Han departed, Yi Zhenjin couldn't contain her agitation. Why? Why? Mother. Look at Su Yingxue. I'm also the daughter of the Marquis Manor and the granddaughter of my maternal grandfather. I've been conferred the title of County Lord, but I can't even imagine anyone proposing to me with such grandeur. Su Xinlan had already arranged a marriage for her with the youngest son of the Prime Minister's estate. When they were engaged, the Prime Minister's estate had given her 60 gifts, and she had boasted about them for a long time. However, compared to Su Yingxue, her 60 gifts seemed like a mere joke. What's the point of saying all this? The Prime Minister's estate may be esteemed by others, but to the 9th Prince, it's nothing. Su Xinlan sighed deeply. Yi Zhenjin gritted her teeth, feeling wronged. Indeed, the Prime Minister's estate was beyond the reach of ordinary people. Even for a daughter of a noble family, it was a prestigious match. Initially, she thought marrying the Prime Minister's son was an honor. But now, there was Su Yingxue, her cousin, marrying far better than her. 100, 1,000 times better. Su Yingxue was becoming a princess consort, and Yi Zhenjin would have to bow to her. Just thinking about it kept her awake at night with jealousy. Yi Zhenjin had been pampered since childhood in the Changxin Marquis Manor. Her ambitions matched Su Xinlan's. She used to be content with what she had, but now, with a comparison, she wanted more. Why was Su Yingxue able to marry the 9th prince and receive such lavish treatment? When she got married, she had to kowtow to her like an empress. What had she done? Thinking about this, she couldn't sleep for several days. She went to Su Xinlan's place to pay her respects and share her thoughts. Su Xinlan immediately rejected her, gently tapping Yi Zhenjin's head. Are you out of your mind? You want to replace Su Yingxue as the 9th princess consort. You can't just become a princess by saying so. Yi Zhenjin pouted a trace of grievance on her slightly round face. Su Han was once a regional princess? Mother, you are also from the Marquis Manor. Can you watch as your 2 elder brothers' daughters marry better than your daughter? What happened to that little bitch Su Han? Why are you competing with her? As for this Su Yingxue, Su Xinlan gnashed her teeth in hatred at the thought of Su Yingxue. She had been taught a lesson by Su Yingxue many times, and her anger still burned inside her. She couldn't shake off her depression, and Su Yingxue was about to get married. Once she married Chui Han, she would have to kneel in front of Su Yingxue and endure her torment. This was very uncomfortable. Go to the 9th Prince's mansion with thick-skinned Yi Zhenjin had picked up some useful skills from Su Xinlan, like reading people's expressions and speaking directly to the point. Mother, don't forget how many times Su Yingxue has schooled you. What if she holds a grudge after becoming the princess consort and comes after you again? Then your mouth will have to. Damn it. I'm her aunt. How dare she? Su Xinlan was both furious and inwardly alarmed. Yi Zhenjin's words had a ring of truth to them. Su Xinlan was genuinely worried that Su Yingxue might bear grudges, leading to more trouble in the future. After much thought, Su Xinlan came up with a daring idea. Since she feared Su Yingxue's potential grudges, why not marry Yi Zhenjin to Chui Han as well? Even if Su Yingxue became the primary consort and Yi Zhenjin the secondary one, they would still both belong to Chui Han. Su Xinlan could then teach Yi Zhenjin how to vie for favor and outshine Su Yingxue, leaving no room for retaliation. Thus, she made up her mind. To have Yi Zhenjin marry the 9th prince, Su Xinlan was determined to make Yi Zhenjin meet the 9th prince first. The next day, Su Xinlan had Yi Zhenjin dressed up beautifully. She adorned her with all the exquisite jewelry from the Chongqing Marquis Manor, including pearls, jade, and agate, making Yi Zhenzhen look dazzling. Yi Zhenzhen usually wore heavy jewelry. Today, she felt her neck was a bit weighed down, making it hard for her to stand. However, knowing she couldn't afford to lose face when visiting the ninth prince's mansion, she ignored the weight on her neck. Upon arriving at the ninth prince's mansion, they didn't mention Marquis Changson's mansion, but instead claimed to be from the Marquis of Marshall South's manor, Su Yingshu's maternal family. Upon hearing that Su Yingshu's family had arrived, the guard of the ninth prince's mansion didn't dare to be neglectful. He promptly went to welcome them and even sent someone to inform the old steward, who dropped everything and personally greeted them. When Chu Yihan proposed marriage, he visited the Marquis of Marshall South's manor and memorized the faces of all the masters there. However, when he saw Su Xinlan and Yi Zhenjin, he was taken aback. He had never seen them before. Despite his doubts, since they claimed to be from Su Yingshu's family, he didn't dare to be rude. He invited them into the hall and served them the finest tea and snacks. With a polite smile, he asked, "May I inquire, Madam and Miss, what relation are you to the future princess consort? Please inform me so I can notify your highness." Su Xinlan's eyes brightened when she heard Chu Yihan's inquiry. "I'm Yingshu's aunt, and this is my daughter." She gestured towards Yi Zhenjin. Yi Zhenjin politely smiled at the steward. The steward returned the smile, but when he got a clear look at Yi Zhenjin, his expression froze. He wanted to ask Yi Zhenjin if her jewelry wasn't too heavy. However, he decided against it, swallowing his doubts and only pondering the relationship between Su Yingxue and her aunt. As he entertained them, he sought out Imochi to inquire whether your highness wished to meet them. When Imochi heard about Su Yingshu's aunt, he was confused. What brings them here? The old steward speculated a bit. Perhaps the future princess consort doesn't have a good relationship with her aunt's family? How could that be termed not good? Miss Su has reprimanded her aunt several times. Her aunt's daughter, birds of a feather flock together. She's not a good person. Even so, I must inform your highness. The old steward considered carefully. Imochi agreed, and he relayed the information to Chu Yihan. He missed Su Yingxue as expected. Chu Yihan replied, "Tell them to leave." He wouldn't even acknowledge anyone who didn't have a good relationship with Su Yingxue. However, just as Imochi walked out, Chu Yihan called him back. "You go personally to the Marquis Manor and inform Yingxue about this. Let her handle it." Imochi didn't understand. "Why don't I just chase them out on behalf of your highness? Why bother our future princess consort?" Chu Yihan looked at him with an oppressive gaze, causing Imochi to feel a sharp pain all over his body. He went obediently. When Su Yingxue came to the prince's mansion with him, only then did he realize that your highness hadn't seen Su Yingxue for a few days and missed her. Imochi patted his head. He had been so busy recently that he had become silly. He didn't even realize your highness' thoughts in time. He deserved a beating. On the other hand, Su Yingxue was a little confused on the way back. She had been busy taking care of her two main patients and focused on making medicine. She had no time to care about Su Xinlan and Yi Zhenjin. Why did they suddenly come to the ninth prince's mansion? Su Xinlan and Yi Zhenjin received preferential treatment in the ninth prince's mansion. The steward would chat with them politely from time to time, and Yi Zhenjin's vanity grew stronger and stronger. If she could marry into the prince's mansion and become the mistress of the residence, how glorious would that be? All the women in the Great Qing dynasty would be envious of her. Thinking of this, the smile on her face was already a little exaggerated. "Aunt, cousin, are you treating the prince's mansion like your own backyard?" Su Yingxue teased as soon as she entered the front hall. Yi Zhenjin and Su Xinlan were still immersed in their sweet dreams. Su Xinlan was shocked when she heard Su Yingshue's voice. "You, Su Yingxue, why are you here?" "Cousin, how did you? You didn't even tell me you were coming." Yi Zhenjin was scared out of her wits. For some reason, Su Yingshue's sudden appearance made her feel a little uneasy. Su Yingxue smiled. "The two of you, this is the ninth prince's mansion, my fiancé's mansion. The two of you." You didn't inform me in advance and came here quietly. I should be the one asking the two of you. What are you doing here? Su Xinlan felt especially embarrassed by her tone of being the mistress of the house. Of course, we're here to get closer to our future brother-in-law. After all, we're all relatives in the future, so we have to interact more. Or is it that sister doesn't wish for our Marquis Manor to be close to your highness? Yi Zhenjun was very good at finding excuses for herself, even if this excuse made people feel that she was shameless. The smile on Su Yingshi's face could no longer be maintained. Yi Zhenjun, which Marquis Manor are you talking about? Is it your Changxin Marquis Manor or our Marquis of Marshall South's Manor? What's the difference? We're all from the Marquis Manor, and we share the same bloodline, so why should we be so clear about it? Su Xinlan rolled her eyes at her. She did not want to admit the fact that Changxin Marquis Manor was inferior to Marquis of Marshall South's Manor. The difference is huge. Su Yingxue walked to the main seat in front of the hall and sat down. Using her identity as the host, she lectured them. If it's the Changxin Marquis Manor, then aunt and your daughter have come to the wrong house. Your Highness no need to be close to the Changxin Marquis Manor. If it's the Marquis of Marshall South's Manor, you are even less qualified to come to your Highness' place. When aunt got married, grandfather had already cut off the relationship between father and daughter with you. Now, it's you who is shameless and brings your daughter to the Marquis Manor every day. You really can't be considered a member of our Marquis Fu. So, aunt, please have some self-respect. Happy to see Chu Yihan Su Yingxue emphasized the last two words, her cold brows indicating her displeasure. Today, she was slightly dressed up, wearing a light blue dress with layers of waves on the hem, adorned with sparkling pearls. Her already captivating face was further enhanced by a touch of makeup, adding a soul-stirring charm to her beauty. In front of her, Yi Zhenjun felt ashamed of herself, but she relied on her careful dressing today and kept encouraging herself. Don't be afraid, Yi Zhenjun thought to herself. She wore more jewelry than Su Yingxue, and it was more valuable. Her beauty, at most, was just a little inferior to Su Yingxi's. She raised her head even more arrogantly. Cousin's words don't make sense. There may be differences in the Marquis Manor, but why should we be so clear about our blood ties? Are you suggesting that after you become the princess consort, you'll no longer be my aunt's niece, my cousin? She deliberately mocked Su Yingxue, hoping to embarrass her in front of the prince's mansion servants. If they had seen this, they would have thought that Su Yingxue was a difficult master to serve. Su Yingxue sneered. If I say it's not, then it's not. And as for blood ties, if you don't mind, I can help you and your mother change your blood ties with me. You? How would you do that? Blood ties can't just disappear. Yi Zhenjun was angry. Su Yingxi's threat sounded truly terrifying. She subconsciously tightened her grip on Su Xinlan's hand. Su Xinlan was also confused and terrified. Su Yingxue took out a syringe from her sleeve and showed it to them. Exactly. They'll use this device to drain the blood from your body and replace it with someone else's blood. Then, your blood won't have anything to do with me, and you won't be related to me by blood anymore. Su Yingxue had an innocent look on her face. She tilted her head and even smiled. Her smile made Su Xinlan and Yi Zhenjun's faces turn pale. Draining all the blood from my body. No. Yi Zhenjun felt terrified just thinking about it. She shouted in front of Su Xinlan. Su Xinlan hadn't expected this either. Su Yingxue, you're too ruthless. She pulled Yi Zhenjun and tried to leave, fearing that if they stayed longer, Su Yingxue might draw their blood. This woman could come up with any terrifying methods. It was too frightening. Wait, the old steward instructed someone to stop them. He still smiled kindly. The two of you, your highness, have not given any orders yet. You cannot leave the mansion without his permission. What? How long do we have to wait? What does your highness want to do? The experience of being slapped by Chu Yihan made her tremble uncontrollably. Yi Zhenjun was at a loss. She could only hold Su Xinlan's arm tightly and huddle next to her. It depends on your highness' mood. After the old steward finished speaking, he respectfully approached Su Yingxue. Miss Su, your highness is waiting for you. Su Yingxue nodded and waved at Su Xinlan and Yi Zhenjin. You two wait here. You can leave when your highness is in a good mood. Su Yingxue, don't go. Cousin, help me. Su Yingxue ignored their pleas, but she was excited at the thought of seeing Chu Yihan. Roar. As they passed by the garden, Su Yingxue heard a tiger's roar. She was suddenly drawn to a white shadow on the mountain. Shan Bao, long time no see. Shan Bao cried out again. This woman finally remembered it. Humph. Your Highness, seduction is against the rules. Su Yingxue lifted her dress and ran to Shan Bao in a few quick steps, patting its head. Roar. Shan Bao reluctantly turned its head. Su Yingxue wrapped her arms around its neck and rubbed against it, her voice soft and gentle. You like me so much, yet you won't let me touch you? Shan Bao pretended to be angry and bared its teeth at her. Who said it liked her? Stop being narcissistic. Give you a kiss. Su Yingxue looked at its proud little appearance and hugged it before planting a kiss on its head. Shan Bao lowered its head and swayed back and forth, ignoring Su Yingxue. Observing Shan Bao's behavior, Su Yingxue didn't understand. What's wrong? Are you shy? She imagined if Shan Bao were a person, it would probably be shy and modest now. Thinking about it made her smile. An arrogant tiger like it won't be shy. The man's cold voice was filled with displeasure. Suddenly, Shan Bao raised its head and roared, as if to protest against Chu Yihan's remark. Su Yingxue hugged Shan Bao and gently comforted it. Glaring at Chu Yihan, she said, the moment you arrived, Shan Bao was about to run away. That's because it's useless. Chu Yihan snorted coldly, a hint of disdain in his eyes. Roar. Shan Bao's voice was weak, tinged with a hint of grievance. Shan Bao, I'll give you more food. Don't be afraid. Su Yingxue rubbed Shan Bao's soft fur, treating it like a dog. Some of its fur fell on her dress. Chu Yihan was extremely displeased as he pulled Su Yingxue up. You're hugging it instead of me? He didn't believe his embrace wasn't as comfortable as a tiger's. Roar. Shan Bao raised its head at Chu Yihan as if challenging him. Su Yingxue understood its meaning and smiled. Your Highness, look. I'm hugging it. Shan Bao is so proud. I think it's too full. There's no need for it to eat meat tonight. Chu Yihan pulled Su Yingxue, ready to leave. Shan Bao's sharp claws dug into the ground. It felt unfair. Su Yingxue didn't come. It hasn't eaten its fill recently. Shan Bao thought. Your Highness, I want to feed Shan Bao first. Su Yingxue pouted and acted coquettishly with Chu Yihan. His eyes darkened as he turned around and glared at Shan Bao. Shan Bao's muscular body trembled. The sunset was beautiful. Su Yingxue sat on Tiger Mountain, feeding Shan Bao meat while leaning against Chu Yihan, admiring the scenery. A layer of red was wrapped in a golden glow, reflecting a dazzling light. There was no regret at the end of the day at all. Instead, it made people look forward to the warm and peaceful time that followed. After Shan Bao was full, it flipped over onto its back and fell asleep beside Su Yingxue's feet. Today was a day of contentment. Su Yingxue teased Shan Bao before grabbing Chu Yihan's hand and scratching his palm. She deliberately asked, Your Highness, is it itchy? She was curious. Was Chu Yihan ticklish? I don't feel anything, Chu Yihan replied calmly. Su Yingxue's hands reached for Chu Yihan's waist. Just as she was about to tickle him, he suddenly grabbed her hands and lifted her, placing her on his lap. Su Yingxue looked at her hands that were trapped by Chu Yihan and pouted angrily. Your Highness, you're breaking the rules. He lured her into tickling him. So how did he end up trapping her? Chu Yihan thought. Where did I break the rules? Chu Yihan approached Su Yingxue gently, his hot breath causing her skin to tremble. Su Yingxue wants to cook. Su Yingxue's eyes widened. Chu Yihan's ethereal and handsome face was mere inches away, emanating a cold and restrained aura with a hint of subtle allure. She swallowed nervously, feeling as though she might be drawn into him. "Your Highness, about the mother and daughter in the main hall." Emochi was about to seek instructions when he witnessed the scene before him, causing him to freeze in place. Suddenly, Suingshue pushed Chuihan away and pretended to squat down to play with Shanbao. Chuihan shot a menacing glance at Emochi. Emochi's legs trembled, his mind racing. Was it too late to buy a coffin now? Tell them to leave. Chuihan's face turned grim, his displeasure evident. As Emochi was about to leave, Suingshue called out, "Wait, it's not dinner time yet. Why rush them away?" Su Yingshu's words revived Emochi. "Princess Consort, do you mean to have them stay for dinner?" Emochi, driven by a strong survival instinct, kept addressing Su Yingxue as Princess Consort, hoping she would spare him. Su Yingxue blushed. "We're not married yet. Please call me by my name. You are already the mistress of the 9th Prince's mansion. That's how I've always seen it." Emochi insisted earnestly. Chu Yihan raised an eyebrow, the intensity of his presence easing up. Su Yingxue chuckled. "In that case, as the mistress, they'll decide. Let them stay until after dinner, and then we'll see if your highness is interested in meeting them." "Yes, they'll relay the order immediately." Emochi hurriedly left the scene. Chu Yihan pulled Su Yingxue into his arms and playfully pinched her nose. "My dear mistress is arranging guests for me. I'm not interested in meeting them." "I know you're not interested, but they are eager to meet you. Let them yearn for you." "Let's go have dinner," Su Yingxue said, holding onto Chu Yihan's arm with a mischievous glint in her eyes. Chu Yihan smiled. All right. His little woman was quite the tease. He liked everything she did. He had planned to take Su Yingxue to the Feichuan Pavilion for dinner, followed by a soak in the hot spring to relax. However, Su Yingxue wanted to cook dinner for him herself. Chu Yihan's eyebrows twitched, his expression uncertain. Seeing his reaction, Su Yingxue pouted. "What's wrong? Don't you want to try my cooking?" "No, I'm just surprised. I didn't know you could cook," Chu Yihan admitted. "I can't." Su Yingxue blinked innocently, then quickly added, "But I can learn. You have many chefs in the manor. I can ask one to teach me." Chu Yihan remained silent. Su Yingxue was excited. She dragged Chu Yihan to the kitchen and asked the old steward to gather all the chefs. She then selected 2 who were skilled in preparing Chu Yihan's favorite dishes to teach her how to cook. Seriously praising Su Yingshu's cooking skills, this was Su Yingshu's first time in the kitchen. Usually, she dealt with medicinal herbs, thinking that handling chicken, duck, fish, and meat wouldn't be more challenging than herbs. After all, she could distinguish and utilize thousands of herbs, so she believed she could handle these ingredients as well. However, reality proved otherwise. Su Yingxue had planned to make 5 dishes: bird's nest soup with rock sugar, wine-marinated duck, dragonwell tea shrimp, clear soup with dragon's beard vegetable, and sugar-steamed cheese. But from the moment she picked up the kitchen knife, none of the ingredients seemed to cooperate. The rock sugar wouldn't break, the duck meat burned, the shrimp turned black, the dragon's beard changed color, and the sugar-steamed cheese looked like a big white bun when it came out of the pot. Chu Yihan had been waiting at the dining table for over 2 hours. Su Yingxue felt too embarrassed to bring out even a single plate of the 5 dishes. In frustration, she tugged at her sleeves. "Are you done?" Chu Yihan approached, encircling Su Yingshu's waist and gently rubbing his chin against her shoulder. Su Yingxue bit her lip, feeling embarrassed. "Your Highness, why don't we let the chef make it?" She feared that Chu Yihan might get poisoned by her cooking. Chu Yihan's gaze fell on the scattered plates, and Su Yingxue didn't even have time to cover them. He instructed the chef, "Bring the dishes made by the Princess Consort over." The 2 chefs exchanged glances and then suggested, "Your Highness, why don't we cook again and serve you and the Princess Consort? Are you questioning the Princess Consort's skills?" Chu Yihan's eyes turned cold, and the entire kitchen was filled with a strong sense of oppression. The 2 chefs instantly knelt. "We wouldn't dare. Please spare us, Your Highness."
Yes.
Chu Yihan kept his words brief. The two chefs promptly arranged the dishes Su Yingxue had made and placed them on the table. Upon returning, they didn't forget to praise her with a smile. The princess consort is pure and sincere. Her cooking is unique, surpassing ordinary standards. Yes, yes. The princess consort is beautiful and skillful. Despite our many years of experience, we still can't match her. Please teach us in the future. The two chefs spared no effort in flattering Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue looked at them in shock. You watched me cook, and yet you still say that. Doesn't your conscience hurt? The two chefs smiled and said in unison, It doesn't hurt. The princess consort is truly amazing. Su Yingxue was speechless. Their greatest skill probably wasn't their culinary expertise. Since the chefs speak so highly, I'm looking forward to it. Princess consort, accompany me for dinner. Chu Yihan pinched Su Yingxue's cheek and brought her to the dining table. Su Yingxue looked at the bland dishes on the table, her heart sinking. If your highness can't eat it, don't force yourself. She didn't dare to eat it herself. Chu Yihan picked up his chopsticks easily and took a maroon-colored shrimp. I won't force myself. Then he ate it, and a strong flavor spread between his lips and teeth. Chu Yihan swallowed the entire prawn and told Su Yingxue without changing his expression, This dish is very delicious. It has whetted my appetite. Is that so? Su Yingxue expressed her doubts. Was she blind? Or had Chu Yihan lost his sense of taste? The old steward gave Chu Yihan a bowl of rice. He quickly finished it with the dishes and asked for a second bowl. The old steward smiled and was very pleased. It's been a long time since I've seen your highness have such a good appetite. It shows that the prince's cooking is excellent. That's right. Our princess consort is beautiful and kind-hearted. Her medical skills are outstanding. Even her culinary skills are unparalleled. None of the women in the Great Qing dynasty can compare to the princess consort. Chase away, banish. Emochi was earnestly flattering, and his survival instinct grew stronger. Su Yingxue had a feeling that not only Chu Yihan but also the old steward and Emochi, as well as the chefs in the prince's mansion, might have lost their sense of smell. The smell emanating from the dishes on the table was unpleasant, let alone delicious. However, Chu Yihan seemed to be enjoying his meal. Su Yingxue rubbed her stomach and felt hungry. She served herself a bowl of rice and began eating. But when she took her first bite, tears welled up in her eyes. She suddenly felt sorry for Chu Yihan. But when she paused, Chu Yihan poured her a glass of water. Eat slowly, he said gently. His actions were unexpectedly tender, resembling those of an ordinary husband, without a trace of pride or nobility. Su Yingxue drank the water he offered. Whether it was due to her taste buds failing or an illusion of happiness and sweetness, she found the taste of her poorly cooked food to be delicious. Together with Chu Yihan, they almost finished the dishes she had prepared. Emochi and the old steward looked hungry. After the meal, Chu Yihan took Su Yingxue for a stroll in the garden. As the old steward instructed the servants to clear the table, he had a thought. Are the dishes made by the princess consort truly so wonderful? Your highness has never eaten so much. Emochi shared this doubt. The two exchanged glances, then simultaneously picked up their chopsticks and tasted the food. Emochi's expression immediately contorted. Your highness, is your sense of taste? Do your highness need to see a doctor? The old steward quickly drank some water to compose himself, then patted Emochi's shoulder. That's the taste of happiness. You'll understand once you're married. Emochi shook his head, still somewhat shaken. If I need to see a doctor for my sense of taste after marriage, I'd rather not get married. This ailment couldn't be cured in a short time. In the main hall, Yi Zhanjin and Su Xinlan were left behind. The old steward mentioned that Chu Yihan might want to see them, so Yi Zhanjin insisted on waiting until Chu Yihan arrived. However, it was late at night. Not only Chu Yihan, but even the servants of the prince's mansion needed to rest. The old steward sent 2 guards to escort Yi Zhanjin and Su Xinlan out. Yi Zhanjin was full of joy, thinking that Chu Yihan was finally going to see her, but to her surprise, When she stepped out, she found herself outside the gates of the prince's mansion. Realizing this, she immediately rushed back inside. "Where's your highness? Didn't you say you'd take us to see your highness? How dare you take us out of the mansion? What's your name? If you dare to neglect us like this, I'll tell your highness." The guards of the mansion were battle-hardened soldiers who had served with Chu Ihan. They had stern faces and imposing auras. The guard coldly informed them, "Your highness never mentioned wanting to see you. He has retired for the night. Leave quickly and don't soil the mansion grounds." "You!" Su Xinlan's eyes widened, enraged by the guard's words. "Outrageous! We are guests of the prince's mansion. Your highness is busy with official matters, hence asking us to wait. Now that he wishes to summon us at night, you dare to drive me out. Beware, your highness might chop off your heads. Get out of the way and let me in. I want to see your highness." Yi Zinshan's face paled. Her hairpin trembled violently as she attempted to push past. The guard swiftly drew a gleaming knife and pressed it against her neck. "How dare you? This is the 9th prince's mansion, not a place for your antics. Your highness has been with the princess all day and has no official duties. You've been a nuisance in the mansion and still refuse to leave. If you cause any more disturbance, I'll take your heads first and then report to your highness." "Ambition bloat, you dare. Am the madam, and my daughter is the county lord. You dare to kill us?" Su Xinlan said, hands on her hips, looking arrogant. "What's to fear? Military orders are authoritative. One must not act recklessly in front of the prince's mansion. We have your highness orders. Those who cause trouble can be executed first, with the report to follow." His gleaming blade shimmered under the moonlight, sending chills down the spine from a distance. Su Xinlan couldn't tolerate such a threat. She immediately pulled Yi Zhenjin into the carriage. On the way back to Changxin Marquis Manor, Su Xinlan still felt a lingering fear. She patted her chest. "I was scared to death. The palace guards of this prince's mansion are too terrifying." They disregarded the face of Changxin Marquis Manor and even mentioned acting first and reporting later. If they hadn't left earlier, they might have already become corpses. Su Xinlan sighed secretly. Luckily, they ran fast. Su Xinlan saw that Yi Zhenjin hadn't spoken for a long time. She covered the back of her hand with her palm and said with concern, "My daughter, are you scared silly? What's going on?" "Mother, we've been played by Su Yingxue." Yi Zhenjin gritted her teeth with half of her face buried in the shadows. "Su Yingxue knew we were waiting for your highness, but she deliberately delayed your highness time. It's fine if she didn't let your highness see us, but these people must have been ordered by her to chase us away. That insidious and vicious woman, after obtaining your highness' imperial seal as a betrothal gift, became arrogant. How dare she not put you, her aunt, and me, her cousin, in her eyes?" Yi Zhenjin kicked the wall of the carriage angrily, her eyes red. "So it's Su Yingxue," Su Xinlan exclaimed. "Strangely, your highness doesn't want to see us, but he doesn't drive us away either. It's that little bitch Su Yingxue who's deliberately messing with us. She even made us go a day without food or water." Su Xinlan slapped her thigh in anger. She had seduced Marquis Changxin and had been living a life of luxury. She had never been hungry before. Today, she was exhausted and starving. Clutching her growling stomach, she sighed heavily. "Daughter, we can't go back to the 9th prince's mansion. With Su Yingxue around, not only will you not see your highness, but you'll also be in danger of losing your head." The palace guards of the 9th prince's mansion could act first and report later. They wouldn't even give a face to Marquis Changxin. They couldn't gamble with their lives. "But am not willing. Mother, am also grandfather's granddaughter and the county lord. That Su Yingxue isn't even the village head. So why can she marry the 9th prince and I can't even be a secondary consort?" Yi Zinshan's ambition grew even more after witnessing the power and wealth of the 9th prince's mansion. Su Xinlan was unwilling to accept this, but she had been warned and taught a lesson by Su Yingxue several times. Today, even a palace guard from the ninth prince's mansion almost killed her. She thought about it and said, Jinjin, actually the prime minister's estate is also very powerful. You see, even the emperor can't decide for the ninth prince, but the ninth prince has always been polite to the old prime minister. The prime minister's son is handsome, and he was elected at a young age. He is now a sixth-rank official in the Imperial Academy. With the prime minister's support, he will also be an extremely powerful official in the future. Why don't you forget about the ninth prince? So what? Yi Zhanjin threw Su Xinlan's hand away with a look of disdain. How could he compare to the ninth prince? Or can he kill his way into the palace and snatch the emperor's imperial seal to give me as a betrothal gift, making me a woman more noble than the empress? Compared to the ninth prince, the son of the prime minister and a sixth-rank official is just trash. Troubling Su Xinlan, the marriage that once satisfied her, even making her feel like she had climbed the social ladder, was instantly devalued by Su Yingxue after encountering her. Su Xinlan sighed. Originally, it was she who had sabotaged the marriage arrangements within the prime minister's family, ruining the engagement between the young master and the daughter of a minor official, just so Yi Zhanjin could have the chance to marry into it. But now, she wasn't satisfied again. Su Xinlan felt exhausted. Mother, we can't always be so short-sighted. Now that we have the chance to fight for it and become the noblest woman in the world, how can you just watch me submit to someone else? Yi Zhanjin said coquettishly. Who knows, Su Yingxue might even become the empress in the future, the mother of the world. What if she doesn't like us and kills us with a wave of her hand? Su Xinlan felt a chill at the back of her neck. She quickly hugged her neck and rolled her eyes. This can't happen. Su Yingxue, that little slut, has been trying to curry favor with the eldest brother and third brother's families. She's targeting us, allowing her to climb to the position of empress. Not to mention you and me, even your younger brother will have to pay with his life. If we die, the title and property will fall into the hands of that sickly child. I would be so angry. She had planned for so many years, finally managing to anger that sickly person in the West Garden to death. She married off her daughters and ruined her son's future, all the benefits falling on her children. She had been working hard for so many years. If it was destroyed in Su Yingxue's hands, she would not die in peace. Thinking of this, she began to conspire with Yi Zhanjin. Daughter, you must marry into the ninth prince's mansion. In the future, who will be the woman by the ninth prince's side? It's still uncertain. Yi Zhanjin smiled proudly. Yes, if I become the empress in the future, mother, you will be a first-rank madam. Su Xinlan covered her mouth and laughed. This beautiful dream allowed her to have a good night's sleep. A few days later, she returned to the Marquis Manor. Su Qingji was busy preparing for Su Yingxue's wedding. He followed Chu Yahan's instructions and did not put Su Yingxue under any pressure. He would rather have everyone in the Marquis Manor busy than let Su Yingxue be busy. Therefore, this month, Su Qingji called his sons, daughters, and granddaughters back to the manor to stay for a long time to prepare for Su Yingxue's marriage. Su Dingwei and Qin Wan had received Su Yingxue's favor, so they naturally respected her. Qin Wan and Su Han were especially careful with the decorations in the inner manor. Even Madame Yin had moved to the Marquis Manor. To thank Su Yingxue for taking care of Su Miaoyan and making her fair and fat, Madame Yin also treated Su Yingxue's marriage as her daughter's marriage and did her best. It was rare for Su Qingji to see all his children so united, so he was naturally very happy. However, Qin Wan suddenly came to tell him, Father, Anne is back. She said she wants to see you and is waiting in the front hall. Su Qingji was drawing up the guest list for the Marquis Manor. When he heard this, he frowned. Tell her to go back and not come to the Marquis Manor for no reason. He had 3 sons and a daughter. Su Xinlan was the only one he hated the most. Su Dingheng had been mediocre and useless in his life. Fortunately, he had been taught a lesson by Su Yingxue and obediently stayed in the Marquis Manor as a good-for-nothing. He could not help, but at least he did not cause trouble. However, Su Xinlan was always restless and always wanted to cause trouble. If it wasn't for Marquis Changxin's many years of friendship with him, he would have wanted to teach Su Xinlan a lesson every time he saw her. Now, she was still rushing over to cause trouble. He was annoyed when he saw her. Su Xinlan's tricks, Su Qingzi's attitude, Qin Wan anticipated. As soon as Aunt arrived, she apologized, saying she hadn't been able to help Father and the Marquis Manor before. She's here now to see if she can assist with Yingshi's wedding and to hear Father's instructions. Although Qin Wan didn't care for Su Xinlan, as a noblewoman and the eldest sister-in-law, Qin Wan still had to relay Su Xinlan's message to Su Qingji. Su Qingji snorted. If she doesn't cause trouble, that's enough. What help can she offer? Even though Father feels that way, today Aunt brought an invitation from Marquis Changxin. Seeing that it was personally written by Marquis Changxin, why not go and meet him? Qin Wan handed the invitation to Su Qingji. Su Qingji, seeing it was indeed Marquis Changxin's handwriting, a strength Su Xinlan couldn't imitate, decided to go to the front hall. Su Xinlan's attire today was subdued, with a hint of joy that matched the festive atmosphere of the Marquis Manor, making her less detestable. Su Qingji sat down with his usual stern expression. Marquis Changxin sent you to inquire about Yingshi's wedding. Tell him everything is in order here. He needn't worry. Yes, Daddy. Su Xinlan smiled and bowed. I'll have someone prepare tea for Aunt, Qin Wan said, noticing the exchange. Eldest sister-in-law, if you're not busy, sit with me for a while. Su Xinlan, unusually gentle, smiled at Qin Wan and pulled her to sit beside her. Qin Wan, suspicious, remained wary but had to keep a composed demeanor. What's on your mind? Eldest daughter-in-law isn't as leisurely as you. There are many matters in the Marquis Manor she needs to attend to. Don't waste her time. Su Qingji was well aware of Su Xinlan's tendency to cause trouble. Father, I understand eldest sister-in-law is busy, but I have 2 matters to discuss that concern you. Su Xinlan, appearing well-behaved, folded her handkerchief and placed it on her knees. What's the matter? Do you need my opinion? Qin Wan was wary, fearing Su Xinlan might implicate Su Han. As expected, Su Xinlan smiled. Eldest sister-in-law, the first matter concerns you. Your Hainer has been home for so long. Aren't you worried about her marriage? She's young, in her 20s. She shouldn't waste her youth at home. Don't you care about her marriage? Qin Wan was taken aback. As expected, I and my husband will decide on Hainer's marriage. You needn't concern yourself, Aunt. Qin Wan rejected firmly. Su Qingji glared at Su Xinlan. Stop meddling. I'll choose Hainer's marriage partner. It's not up to you. Su Xinlan, annoyed, asked Su Qingji, Father decides? Did you already choose General Xiaozheng's family? General Xiaozheng's family? Su Qingji frowned, turning his gaze to Qin Wan. Qin Wan stood up and replied, Father, it's a family I've chosen for Hainer. General Xiao Zheng comes from a humble background, but served under Ding Wei. Husband spoke highly of him. I intended to match him with Hainer, but I haven't discussed it with her yet. I'm not sure how Aunt found out. Jinjin can be a concubine. Qin Wan looked at Su Xinlan with great caution. She always acted with discretion, and there was no way her family would leak secrets. But how did Su Xinlan manage to know about such a thing? Su Qingji furrowed his brows lightly. Having a good character is indeed admirable, but Hainer is still the daughter of the Marquis Manor, my granddaughter. I can't bear to see her marry into poverty. Su Qingji felt it was unfair for Su Han, with her character and appearance, to marry into a poor family. But he was also puzzled. How did Su Xinlan manage to get involved in this matter? He stared at her sharply. You've become quite bold. How dare you send someone to your eldest brother's house to gather information? Su Xinlan's hair stood on end as she hurriedly explained, That's not true. Recently, General Xiao Zheng was promoted and is now serving under Marquis. I saw him interacting with brother's household and asked a question. Qin Wan discreetly lowered her eyes. Su Xinlan had somehow found out about this matter, even though her husband was involved. This couldn't be considered a favorable match. Su Qingji gave Su Xinlan a sidelong glance. You sure know how to meddle. How is that meddling? As an aunt, I care about our family child. When Hainer marries General Xiao Zheng in the future, I naturally want my husband to guide her more. My husband's authority in the army is higher than my eldest brother's. If he helps General Xiao Zheng, he'll advance faster in the future. Su Xinlan's eyes flashed with pride, causing Qin Wan to lower her head in submission. Qin Wan felt displeased as she lowered her eyes. What is the second matter Aunt wishes to discuss today? Qin Wan knew Su Xinlan's intentions weren't that simple. She had been visiting frequently and had put a lot of effort into controlling Su Han's marriage. Su Xinlan took a sip of tea and smiled. Eldest sister-in-law is perceptive. My second matter is also related to our Marquis manor, and of course, it concerns my daughter. Su Qingji was too impatient to listen to her nonsense. He wanted to hand her over to Qin Wan and leave. But Su Xinlan stopped him, her eyes sparkling. Father, the ninth prince holds a high position, and the situation in the ninth prince's mansion is complex. I'm fearing Xue won't be able to manage on her own if she marries there. Others might have ulterior motives. I think, why not let Zhenjin accompany Xue in marriage? They could support each other as sisters. What did you say? Qin Wan had anticipated something, but she hadn't expected Su Xinlan to be so bold. She had schemed this. Su Qingzi's heart surged with anger. He glared at Su Xinlan and shouted fiercely, "Say that again." Su Xinlan, always afraid of her father, especially when he glared at her, took 2 steps back but continued with a shy face. Wasn't I thinking about Xue? She's young, and I'm afraid she won't be able to handle the title of 9th Princess Consort. I'm worried she'll be schemed against. So I thought, why not have Zhenjin accompany her? The 2 sisters can take care of each other. To prevent Su Qingji from getting angry and harming her, Su Xinlan took 2 more steps back and smiled as she said, Father, Zhenjin is a good girl. She doesn't want a troubling Xue. She doesn't want the position of a primary wife. Just being a secondary consort would suffice. She was made a county lord last year. With this status, marrying a prince and becoming a secondary consort would be more than enough. Slap. A loud crash. After a loud slap, there was the sound of someone smashing the table and chairs. Throw him out of Marquis Manor, and then kill him. Su Xinlan lay sprawled on the ground, feeling as if every bone in her body had been shattered by the pain. She vomited blood as she gazed at Su Qingji, unable to utter a single coherent sentence. Su Qingzi's face turned a furious shade of gray. Su Xinlan, if you ever dare to set foot in my Marquis Manor again, I'll break every bone in your body and feed you to the dogs. You're utterly heartless, you wretch. He waved his hand and bellowed, Men, drag this wretch out and toss her out of the Marquis Manor. Don't soil the grounds of the Marquis Manor. His roar was so thunderous that it made the roof tiles tremble. But being an elderly man, Su Qingji, after being enraged by Su Xinlan, coughed several times and struggled to catch his breath. Seeing this, Qin Wan quickly called for Su Wei to assist Su Qingji. Hurry, fetch the doctor and help father back to his room to rest. Su Qingzi's face flushed red with anger, and he continued to shout about throwing Su Xinlan out. Qin Wan patted his back, urging him, Father, don't be angry. Take care of your health. Leave this matter to me. Father, go back and rest. Su Wei, help father back. Su Wei nodded vigorously. Yes, General. General, please don't get angry and harm yourself. Su Wei then turned to glare fiercely at Su Xinlan. Su Xinlan propped herself up against a pillar and got to her feet. She scolded Su Wei, What are you staring at? You are just a servant, not fit to glare at me. Su Xinlan. Qin Wan called out her name and rebuked her sternly. This is the Marquis of Marshall South's manor, not your Changxin Marquis manor. Don't act out. Qin Wan, usually gentle with others, rarely spoke with such severity. Su Xinlan was momentarily taken aback. What are you yelling for? Isn't every Marquis Manor my home? I'll say whatever I want. What's it to you? Seeing that Su Yingxue was absent, she disregarded Qin Wan. Qin Wan, recalling that Su Xinlan had provoked Su Qingji and interfered in the marriage of the two girls, felt furious. She commanded the servants with a cold expression. All of you, escort her out of the Marquis Manor and inform everyone at the gates that from now on, even if she hangs herself in front of the Marquis Manor, she is not permitted to set foot inside, lest she defile the Marquis Manor. Yes, madam. Old Madame Zhang, sent by Su Yingxue as Qin Wan's aide, was strong and nimble. Together with another servant, they lifted Su Xinlan and threw her out of the Marquis Manor. After she tumbled down the steps, old Madame Zhang declared before everyone, concubine of Marquis Changxin, listen up. The old general has ordered that you are forbidden to return to the manor or even approach its gates. Otherwise, they'll throw you out again. Oh, who's this? Why was she thrown out of the Marquis Manor? Look at her attire. She seems wealthy. Oh, she looks like old General Su's youngest daughter. Youngest daughter? The concubine of Marquis Changxin? Flirting with the old Marquis while bareheaded? TSK, hurry and leave. Don't catch any bad luck. Even her own family threw her out. She's heartless. People passing by in front of the manor were gossiping. Su Xinlan was in agony, but managed to get up and curse at them all. What are you looking at? Peasants. Even if I'm thrown out, I'm still the Marquis' daughter, the one the old Marquis favors the most. You can't even compare to me in 100 lifetimes. Get lost. After cursing them, Su Xinlan quietly made her way to the side door of the Marquis Manor. Although she had been expelled, her spies were still in place. A servant of the Marquis Manor was listening to her instructions. Su Xinlan tossed him 2 gold ingots and a hairpin. This is for you. As for what just happened in the residence, do you know what to say? Chapter 744. Protect Su Han. It was your highness who ordered Miss Xinjin and Miss Yingxue to marry into the prince's mansion together. The old general disagreed and was angered by your highness to the point of vomiting blood. Now, our family's conflict, and because of this, General Xiao Zheng is afraid that our Marquis Manor will be overbearing, so he doesn't dare to agree to the marriage with Miss Su Han. When Su Xinlan heard this, she nodded in satisfaction and walked away leisurely. Upon her return today, she naturally knew that Su Qingji would not agree to her marrying Zhangjin. However, this was not her goal. What she wanted to bribe was the servants in the Marquis Manor. She wanted them to spread the rumors in the Marquis Manor first, then spread them outside the manor and throughout the entire Jiangdu city. By then, the reputation of the Su family's daughters being jealous would spread. If Su Yingxue and Su Han wanted to get married, they would have to fulfill Zhenxin's wish. Otherwise, Su Yingxue would be humiliated for the rest of her life, and Su Han would never be wanted by anyone. If she did not fulfill her daughter's wish, none of the Su family's daughters would be able to marry well. Yi Zhangjin waited in the manor for 2 days before going out for a gathering to drink tea. When she heard the rumors, she knew that her mother had already settled the matter. She was in a particularly good mood. She bought 2 more pieces of jewelry at the Thousand Jiao Pavilion. She thought about marrying into the 9th prince's mansion in the future and adding to her dowry. In the Thousand Jiao Pavilion, Su Han was also buying things for Su Yingxue. With Su Yingxue's introduction, she got to know Wu Jinyan. Knowing that she was going to marry Su Hao, she treated Wu Jinyan like a younger sister. Wu Jinyan treated her the same. However, Wu Jinyan had a lot of gossip with the ladies around her every day, and some of them were heard by Su Han. Wu Jinyan was afraid that she would feel uncomfortable, so she patted her hand and advised her, "Don't take these words to heart. I've already asked the people in the shop to help clarify it. We won't let these rumors spread throughout Jiangdu City." Su Han looked serious. "I don't care about myself, but Yingxue's marriage can't be affected. Your Highness told her to focus on her medical studies and do what she wants. If she knew about this, she would be distracted. Wu Jinyan admired Su Han's integrity and her love for her sisters. She had wanted to have such a good sister since she was young. Therefore, she became even more polite to Su Han. Don't worry. Ingxue hasn't been out these days, so she probably doesn't know. They'll send people to deal with her without leaving a trace. I believe that after a few days, there won't be any bad rumors. Su Han believed in Wu Jinyan's ability. She smiled and said, "Thank you." Wu Jinyan held her hand and went downstairs with her things. She wanted to send Su Han to the carriage herself because she was worried about her. However, she saw a tall figure guarding the stairs with a knife. The masked man nodded at Su Han. "Miss, are you going back?" Su Han nodded.
Yes.
This person immediately reached out to take the things from their hands and turned around to take them to the car. His voice was a little unpleasant, and he didn't speak much, but Wu Jinyan could tell. Your guard is loyal. Besides, I can see that his steps are steady. In terms of martial arts, he's not an ordinary person. Su Han smiled faintly. He's a general in the army. I thought it was a waste of his talent to protect me, but he said he was here to repay his kindness. I didn't know how to refuse him, so I had no choice. Su Han had advised Song Qingyi several times not to waste his time on her. However, Song Qingyi was persistent. He was always by her side to protect her silently. It made her feel that she was being a little heartless to chase him away. Chapter 745. A magnificent Wei cousin is truly talented. You're discussing marriage with General Xiao Zheng, and you even have a bodyguard with you. No wonder the Prince of Yangon County treated you like that. A slightly mocking voice came from above the stairs. Yi Zhenjin deliberately didn't control her volume. At this moment, in the spacious Thousand-Jiao Pavilion, all attention was focused on Su Han. Su Han frowned and glanced at Yi Zhenjin. Miss Yi, it seems you've already found something satisfactory. If convenient, Miss Yi, please settle the bill downstairs first, along with the previous ones. Wu Jinyan smiled and diverted the topic, refocusing attention on Yi Zhenjin. Yi Zhenjin descended the stairs leisurely. Passing by, she snorted softly, "Of course, I will settle the bill. Marquis Manor is wealthy. Do you think I miss out on your money? I thought Brother Su Hao's fiancée was generous, but it seems she only cares about such trifling profits. With your behavior, this Thousand-Jiao Pavilion will likely close sooner or later, won't it?" Yi Zhenjin tossed the silver notes to the accountant while speaking. "We're family. Boss Wu, you're so stingy. I wonder how much profit you make from other wealthy ladies." To protect Su Han, Wu Jinyan was being targeted, so Yi Zhenjin slandered him. The young ladies present weren't lacking in money. Yet upon hearing Yi Zhenjin's words, they began to suspect that Wu Jinyan was taking advantage of them. Wu Jinyan couldn't help but feel embarrassed as the argument escalated. As Wu Jinyan prepared to retort, Su Han held her hand and shook her head. Su Han walked gracefully down the stairs, dressed in a fresh and elegant hibiscus-embroidered gown. Her voice was pleasant as she said, "These are my purchases for today. Please settle the bill first." Su Han handed the items to the clerk at the front desk, who immediately calculated the price. "Miss Su, that will be a total of 3,600 taels. Great. Erase the silver note. Please count it." Su Han promptly handed over the money, and the clerk accepted it in front of everyone. Su Han held the receipt and looked at Yi Zhenjin. She spoke softly. "Compared to me, you're not considered family. After all, you are from the Chongqing Marquis bloodline. Aunt was even expelled from the Chongqing Marquis Manor by grandfather a few days ago. Your relationship with Jin Yin isn't close, but I'm her real sister. When I buy things from her, I always settle the accounts immediately. But you have credit. If I hadn't come today, I wouldn't have known that Jin Yin would allow such behavior to protect the Marquis Manor's reputation." Su Han shifted the topic, and the conflict immediately centered on Yi Zhenjin. She accused Wu Jinyan of taking advantage of her, but Su Han had paid him in full. Even her sister was paying the same price. Would Wu Jinyan take money from other noble ladies? As for her credit, it was a joke among the ladies. The young princess of the Liang manor chuckled at her. Yi Zhanjin, your Marquis manor is wealthy. Why do you need to rely on credit so often? You're causing Boss Wu a huge loss. That's right. You bought a heap of jewelry just the other day, and now another pile. I thought the Marquis manor was truly affluent, but it seems it's all on credit. Look at her all bedecked in jewels. It's as if she's worried others won't notice her wealth. But where does her money truly come from? I wonder how many times she's relied on credit to make ends meet. Chapter 746. Rich people never pay on credit. Are you all jealous of me? Yi Zhenjin raised an eyebrow. My marriage, you all probably won't ever be able to match in your lifetime, right? The young princess of the Liang manor couldn't tolerate her arrogant demeanor. He's just a young master from the prime minister's estate. What's with your arrogance? Compared to your sister, the ninth princess consort, you're not even worthy of being her servant. Chui Han marrying Su Yingxue shocked the entire Great Qing dynasty, and naturally, the young princess of Liang Manor knew about it. Yi Zhenjin sneered at her. Maybe you're too old to catch a husband, and your hearing isn't up to par anymore, huh? Ninth prince wants to marry my sister as the main consort, but he also wants to take me as a secondary consort. What? The young princess of the Liang Manor frowned. Sister princess, it seems to be true. This news came from the Marquis of Marshall South's manor. It can't be baseless. The young lady beside the young princess of the Liang Manor whispered to her. What kind of nonsense is this? When the ladies heard this, they were envious of Yi Zhenjin, yet felt powerless to retaliate. Only Su Han and Wu Jinyan knew. Yi Zhenjin, stop talking nonsense. Wu Jinyan warned her angrily. The ninth prince never said such a thing. This is your and your mother's scheme. Don't flatter yourself. Me? This news came from the Marquis manor. Who is Jiangdu City doesn't know about it. Yi Zhenjin raised her eyebrows. The bigger the commotion, the better it would be for Wu Jinyan's Thousand Jiao Pavilion. Those who know will naturally distinguish between facts and rumors. Rumors are always vulnerable. Su Han was calm and composed. She held Wu Jinyan's hand and advised her, don't make a fuss about this. Don't fall into her trap. Wu Jinyan nodded. She was about to escort Su Han out, but Yi Zhenjin quickly intercepted her. Why are you leaving, Sister Han? If you say that rumors can't withstand a single blow, then what about you and the Prince of Yangon County? Was that also just a rumor? I still remember how grand it was when you were the regional princess. Why are you now only talking about marriage with a lowly general? This is embarrassing for the Marquis manor. After all, you are still a legitimate daughter of the Marquis manor. Her laughter was loud, arousing the interest of everyone previously discussing Su Han. Seeing this, they all started to talk about Su Han. Su Han is getting married again? Which general is so unlucky? Haven't you heard? That person is from a poor family with no one to rely on. Although Su Han is no longer the regional princess, it's too embarrassing to marry into a poor family with nothing. Hey, so what if she's abandoned? It was already good enough that a humble class wanted her. She's still a piece of trash who can't give birth. You guys! Wu Jinyan rushed out in anger, but Su Han held her back. You're the boss. You can't offend the guests. But Wu Jinyan was frustrated. She couldn't bear to see Su Han suffer like this. What they said is the truth. I can't afford to remarry. We'll just ignore it. Su Han remained calm, but a hint of loneliness flashed in her eyes. She maintained her elegant demeanor and walked past Yi Zhenjin with her back straight as if she and the rumors couldn't hurt her at all. Yi Zhenjin was annoyed. These rumors could hurt people, but Su Han remained as unfazed as iron. Hainer! Su Han's carriage was right in front of them. Chapter 747. Chu Xiaotian came to pester Su Han just as she was about to get into the car. a figure appeared behind her and blocked her way. Hainer, was what they said true? Are you getting married again? Su-han was slightly surprised. You? How could it be Chu Xiaotian? It had been a long time since they last met, and Su-han had almost forgotten about him. Although his appearance somewhat overlapped with the one in her memory, he had suffered a lot of blows. He had lost weight, and even his face did not look as handsome. Su-han smiled self-deprecatingly. Sure enough, things had changed. However, she did not want to waste time on people from the past. She said politely, Prince Yangon County, can you move aside? I'm going back to the residence. No, I can't. Hainer, answer me. Are you getting married again? Who was that General Xiao Zheng? I have never heard of him. Why did you marry such a nameless man? How is he worthy of you? Chu Xiaotian grabbed Su-han's hand anxiously. The moment he heard about her marriage, his heart felt like it was being gnawed by thousands of ants. It was hurt. His woman, Su-han, was such a good woman. How could she marry someone else? Su-han stepped back to avoid him, but Chu Xiaotian was about to grab her again. A strong arm grabbed Chu Xiaoshan's hand and asked, Miss, are you okay? Su-han looked at the iron mask and shook her head. I'm fine. Song Qingyi only had a pair of dark eyes. He was strong but not overbearing, and surprisingly made people feel at ease. Chu Xiaotian was especially angry when he was stopped. Who are you? Get lost. This is between me and Hainer. It's none of your business. Chu Xiaotian worked in the 5 cities military department, and most of the military officials knew him. Even if they were Su-han's guards, they would still respect Chu Xiaotian. However, Song Qingyi did not do so. This was the first time he had managed to defeat Chu Xiaotian. He warned, I have been ordered to escort the miss back to her residence. If you are not related to her, please step back. He was neither arrogant nor humble. He wasn't afraid of Chu Xiaoshan's identity, and he protected Su-han well. He walked back to Su-han, and his tall figure shrouded her. Miss, get in the carriage. Perhaps it was because she had just fought with Chu Xiaotian, but his eyes looked a little passionate. Su-han nodded. Her soft nasal voice made Song Qingyi's heart throb. He took out a seat and asked Su-han to get in. Chu Xiaotian wanted to fight back, but Song Qingyi protected Su-han with his right hand and blocked Chu Xiaotian with his left hand. Chu Xiaoshan's fist landed on Song Qingyi's wrist. His wrist guard was a pair of iron fists. Chu Xiaotian used all his strength to hit the iron fist, but Song Qingyi's inner force forced him to take a few steps back. He looked at the back of his hand, which was red and bleeding. He gritted his teeth. Who are you? How dare you stop me? He had never seen such a powerful martial artist in the army. What was his background? After Su-han got into the car, Song Qingyi closed the door for her and said, I'm General Song Qingyi. It's my responsibility to protect Mississippi. No matter who comes, you can't hurt Miss at all. Otherwise, I will risk my life. One was to fight for his life, forcefully extinguishing Chu Xiaoshan's thoughts of making a move. He could not defeat Song Qingyi. In the carriage, Su-han was slightly shocked when she heard that. She did not expect Song Qingyi to not only know how to repay kindness, but also be such a hot-blooded man. He would say something like risking his life for her. His words were definitely not a joke. Just by looking at him blocking Chu Xiaotian and not letting him take a step closer to him, one could tell. Chapter 748. Su Yingxue leaves the medicine hut. Chu Xiaotian could only watch as Song Qingyi escorted Su-han's carriage away. He gritted his teeth and said, Song Qingyi, I will not let you off. When Su-han returned to Marquis Manor, Song Qingyi couldn't follow her into the inner courtyard, so he waited outside. Zhifeng came out to help her carry her things. Seeing her frown, she asked with concern, Miss, what happened? Nothing much. I just ran into Chu Xiaotian, Su-han said lightly. What? Qinwan happened to walk over. Upon hearing this, she hurriedly pulled Su-han aside to check. How did you meet him? Hainer, did he do anything to you? Chu Xiaoshan's persistent pursuit of Su-han, despite their severed ties, deeply concerned Qinwan. Mother, don't worry. With General Song protecting me, Chu Shout Eon won't be able to get close to me. Su-han smiled as she mentioned Song Chingyi. Mom, General Song is a loyal man. I hope you can support him in the future to repay his kindness to me. Qin frowned slightly. Your father had already applied for him to be promoted to deputy general, but he rejected it. If you want him to be promoted again, he has to wait at least 3 years, or he has to make significant contributions. The promotion of a general requires tangible achievements. Su-han was shocked. Why did he refuse? Qin shook her head. Your father has asked him before. He said that there's no one protecting you now, and he's afraid you'll be in danger at any time. It's inconvenient for him to leave, so he hasn't taken the position. Su-han felt a pang of guilt. She didn't expect Song Chingyi to sacrifice his future for her. She asked Qin, did Daddy mention any other opportunities for him? I will persuade him to take office as soon as possible. Although he came to repay my kindness, he shouldn't let it hinder his future. Let's discuss this later. Generals are all stubborn. If they don't listen to your father, they might not listen to you either. Qin held Su-han's hand and entered the house, leaving Jifin to handle the chores. When they were alone, a trace of worry appeared on Qin face. Hainer, the marriage arrangement mother had originally made for you has a bad reputation now. General Xiao Zheng's attitude has also wavered. This was within Su-han's expectations, so she wasn't too affected. Mom, if he doesn't want to proceed, there's no need to force him. I want to spend 2 more years with you and father. But a woman ultimately has to get married, Hainer. Your father and I will never look down on you. Even if you want to stay at home for your whole life, I will take care of you forever. But with all the rumors circulating in the city, if there's no one to protect you, it breaks my heart. Qin wasn't in a rush to marry off Su-han, but she didn't want her to be troubled by rumors. She knew Su-han was a resilient child at heart, but no matter how resilient she was, she couldn't afford to be at odds with everyone. This invisible pressure ultimately harmed her the most. Don't worry, Aunt. Soon, the rumors in the city won't harm my cousin anymore. Su Yingxue pushed open the door, bringing in the warmth of the winter sun. Qin was surprised. Yingxue, why are you? Why did you come out? During this time, Su Yingxue had been immersed in her research at the medicine hut. Even the marriage arrangements were handled by the household, so she didn't have to worry about them. When the rumors started spreading, Su Qingji decided not to inform her. Now, she... Chapter 749. Witness Su-han knew that Su Yingxue had always been uncompromising and had a vengeful personality, so she quickly stepped forward to persuade her. Yingxue, Ninth Prince, and Grandpa are handling this matter. Mom and I have already investigated the people in the mansion, and we've caught the rumor monger. You don't need to worry about this. The Scarlet Flame King is still recuperating in the mansion, so you should focus on caring for the patients and studying medicine. Su-han was afraid that Su Yingxue would rush into Changxin Marquis Manor and do something to Su Xinlan. If that happened, both of their reputations would suffer, and it would only fuel the gossip outside. Su Yingxue's long eyelashes drooped. Sister has already caught the spy in the residence. Take me to see him. Why don't we leave this matter to Hainer? Qin was still concerned. After all, Chu Yihan had instructed that Su Yingxue shouldn't suffer any grievances before marriage. Even if Su Yingxue wasn't a bride waiting to be married, Qin was still worried that Su Yingxue's actions might provoke Ninth Prince's wrath. Su-han gave Qin a reassuring look and bowed slightly. Mother, let me and Yingxue handle this matter. All right then. Qin agreed reluctantly. She didn't dare to make decisions for Su Yingxue, but with Su-han's presence, Su Yingxue respected her as a sister and usually listened to her, so Qin felt relieved to let them handle it. Su-han took Su Yingxue to the woodshed and explained that the servant boy inside was the son of the aunt in charge of the inner courtyard. He had caused trouble in the mansion because of his gambling habit, which was funded by Su Xinlan. Su Yingxue listened silently along the way. If she said anything, Su-han would be able to guess what she was thinking. But since she remained silent and only responded with grunts during their conversation, Su-han started to worry. The door of the woodshed creaked open, and the man tied up inside started yelling. Jilan went over and scolded him. Shut up and answer Miss questions. Don't talk if she doesn't ask. Got it? Xilan's imposing manner frightened the tall, thin man, who obediently shrank back. Su Yingxue walked up to him, her eyebrows raised slightly. Did Su Xinlan give you money to cause trouble in the manor? Yes, yes, yes. The man nodded vigorously. He was just greedy for money. Although his parents had decent salaries, it wasn't enough for his gambling habit. So when Su Xinlan offered him money, he readily accepted. How much did Su Xinlan give you? When Su Yingxue asked, the man immediately fell silent and curled up in the corner. Jilan produced a paper bag and displayed its contents to Su Yingxue. Miss, hair race what we found on him. A gold ingot, a pearl hairpin, and some loose silver. Since he visited the gambling den yesterday, this loose silver likely represents his losses, which should amount to 2 gold ingots. Su Yingxue glanced at the silver in Xilan's hand and nodded. Very well. Once this matter is settled, give him 2 more gold ingots. Jilan was puzzled. Why was Su Yingxue giving him more money? Su Yingxue looked down at the man with a sharp glint in her eyes. Follow me to Changxin Marquis Manor and confess everything Su Xinlan asked you to do. If you cooperate, they'll give you 2 more gold ingots. If you refuse, they'll use this money to buy your freedom and then beat you to death. Chapter 750. Have to copy books when I go out. Oh, yes, yes, yes. The tall, thin man first shook his head vigorously, then struggled to crawl over and kowtow to Su Yingxue, indicating his willingness to speak, to say anything at all. All right, have someone take him along, Su Yingxue instructed before leaving with Su Han. She smiled at Su Han and asked, I'm headed to the Changxin Marquis Manor. Would you like to join me, sister? No. Yingxue, your wedding is next month. This isn't the time for trouble. How about I inform Grandpa and let him handle it? Su Han held her hand. Given the circumstances, whether it was Yi Zhanjin or Su Xinlan, any trouble would become gossip in the Marquis Manor. Su Xinlan was exploiting the Marquis Manor's reputation and trying to force Yi Zhanjin to marry the 9th prince. They couldn't fall for Su Xinlan's trap. Sister, don't worry. I won't cause trouble or harm Yi Zhanjin. I just want to go to the Changxin Marquis Manor to treat a patient. Su Yingxue winked at Su Han. She had been silent earlier because she was pondering something. Now that she had figured it out, her quick-witted demeanor returned. Su Han felt more confident. With the certification in her possession and Su Yingxue's resourcefulness, it made sense to visit the Changxin Marquis Manor. Arrangements were made for a carriage, and when they boarded, Su Miaoyan, the clever little girl, had already snuck in. Her hair was tied in a ponytail, a tasseled hairpin swaying on her head. She pouted and glared at Su Yingxue and Su Han. Sisters are so mean. You didn't even take me along when you went out to play. You don't care about me at all. When Su Miaoyan was upset, her cheeks puffed up like dumplings. Su Yingxue poked one of them, saying, even if I didn't bring you, you still came up. I snuck in by myself. How can that be the same? If Mother hadn't coincidentally gone to the official room, how could I have slipped out? Su Miaoyan hooked her hair ends, looking quite daring. Ever since Mother came to the Marquis Manor, I haven't stepped out once. Not to mention, I haven't seen my handsome brother for so long. Even when I wanted to go to the medicine hut to play with Sister Shui, Mother wouldn't let me, fearing I'd disturb her. She locked me in the courtyard. I'm so bored to death. Su Miaoyan's tender face was full of grievance. Su Han looked serious. Miaoyan, we're going to the Changxin Marquis Manor to handle something, not to play. Why don't we take you out tomorrow? You can go back for now. I don't want to. Su Miaoyan quickly ran to Su Yingxue's side, hugging her. It wasn't easy for me to escape. If I go back now, Mother will make me copy books as punishment. I want to go with you. I don't care what we're going to do in the Changxin Marquis Manor. Even if it's facing blades or flames, I'll go. Ha ha ha. Su Yingxue burst into laughter. She grabbed Su Miaoyan's ear. You said it yourself. Today, We'll take you to face blades and flames. Don't embarrass me. Su Miaowen's eyes immediately lit up. Sister Shui is the best. I'll give you a kiss. She kissed Su Yingshui on the cheek. Su Yingshui wiped her face and sighed. Even if you face blades and flames, you'll still have to copy books when we go back. Su Miaowen's expression turned a bit bitter. She told herself, they'll copy books then. They'll do it after I'm done playing. Even if she had to be punished for copying books, she would still be the happiest little girl after playing. Speaking of which, Su Yingshui was going to the Chongqing Marquis Manor. Su Miaoyan asked excitedly, Sister Shui, how do you plan to deal with Yi Zhenjin? Your acupuncture skills are so powerful. Can you teach me? Chapter 751. Breaking into Marquis Changxin's manor. If Su Miaoyan could learn it, she would stab anyone who made her unhappy next time. Miaoyan, don't fan the flames. Your sister Shui is not allowed to make a move on this trip. Su Han thought that Su Yingshui probably wanted to use her medical skills to make a deal with the old Marquis. It was said that the old Marquis' health had not been good recently. If Su Yingshui could cure him and present evidence, the old Marquis, being a reasonable person, would naturally know how to resolve the matter. Su Miaoyan was a little regretful. Yi Zhenjin and Su Xinlan are so mean. Shouldn't sister slap them? Previously, Su Miaoyan was used to seeing Su Yingshui teach people a lesson. This time, Su Miaoyan couldn't watch Su Yingshui slap their faces, so she instantly became a little listless. Su Yingshui patted Su Miaoyan's head and lectured her. Miao Miao, be good. You must remember that martial arts and medical skills have to be used according to the situation. I'm now the future 9th Princess Consort. If one hits someone, your highness will lose face along with me. Therefore, I've decided to plot against Su Xinlan and Yi Zhenjin this time. This made Su Miaowen's eyes sparkle. Sister, how are you going to do it? It must be wonderful. Wow. Just thinking about it made her feel so excited. Su Han looked at Su Yingshui and Su Miaowen's lively faces, and a touch of envy appeared in her eyes. In the Chongqing Marquis Manor, the moment the three sisters arrived at the door, the guard was stunned. The three of them were all rare beauties in Jiangdu City. Su Yingshui was so beautiful that she could topple a country. Su Han was dignified and elegant, and although Su Miaoyan still looked like a little girl, one could already foresee how stunning she would be when she grew up. This was the first time he had seen such visitors, and the steward was startled out of his room. When he saw Su Yingshui and the other two, he was also shocked. Three young misses, are you here to pay your respects to Madame Lan? The madam has not returned yet. Madame Lan? Why did I hear that the Chongqing Marquis madam isn't surnamed Lan? Su Yingshui narrowed her eyes slightly. The steward was a well-dressed middle-aged man. When he heard this, his face immediately revealed disdain. That sickly person no longer has much power. Right now, in this manor, it is Madame Lan, old General Su's youngest daughter, who has the authority. Our Marquis' most beloved wife is the head of the household. The rules of the Marquis manor are strict. The Marquis' wife is the madam, and there is only one. Below her are only concubines and mistresses. How can she call herself a madam? Su Han was familiar with the rules of each mansion, so the steward felt embarrassed. Madame Lan is now the one in charge of our manor. If you're here to cause trouble, leave quickly. Just these two girls who spoke made the steward feel that they were not to be trifled with. He was not confident, so it was better to send them away as soon as possible. Leave? We're guests who have written formal invitations. You didn't serve us tea and even chased us away. You are awe-inspiring as a servant. If I didn't know, I would have thought that you were the Marquis. This Chongqing Marquis manor has your surname. Su Miaowen's string of witty words was like a cannonball, shocking the steward. He cowered and took 2 steps back. What are you guys doing here? Su Yingshui smiled at him. I'm here to pay my respects to the Chongqing Marquis madam. The steward invited Su Xinlan in first, and immediately sent someone to invite her back to make the decision. He didn't dare to mess things up. He did not dare to let anyone come into contact with Madame easily. For many years, Su Xinlan had instructed that even the children in the manor were not allowed to visit Madame often, causing her to be depressed. In addition, she was already suffering from consumption. She would die in a few years. In this manner, Su Xinlan was the only one who ruled. Chapter 752. Seeing the Changxin Marquis Madam, the steward was personally promoted by Su Xinlan, so he naturally had to work for her without worry. Su Han sat down in the front hall. She vaguely sensed this steward should be Su Xinlan's subordinate. He won't let us see the Changxin Marquis Madam so easily. If Su Yingxue wanted to treat the Changxin Marquis Madam, it would take some effort. He doesn't let us go. We'll go by ourselves then. Su Yingxue raised her eyebrows and left with Su Miaoyan. Su Han was still worried that Su Yingxue wouldn't be able to find the room of the Changxin Marquis Madam. Su Yingxue took out a map and took Su Miaoyan to the entrance of the madam's courtyard. Su Miaoyan's eyes were filled with admiration. Wow, Sister Xue, you're so amazing. Have you been to Changxin Marquis Manor before? Your memory is so good? Su Yingxue shook her head. No, this is a map drawn by Ziwei. He searched the entire Changxin Marquis Manor last night and remembered everything. Not only was Ziwei's martial arts strong, but he also had a good memory and was even better at guiding the way. She quickly found this place. However, the courtyard of the Changxin Marquis Madam was even more desolate than she had imagined. The dead leaves at the entrance of the courtyard had not been swept clean, and the scenery in the courtyard was bleak. There was only an old woman sitting at a stone table in the courtyard, slowly peeling water chestnuts. Her expression was blank. After peeling one, she sighed and rubbed her red eyes. Su Miaoyan pursed her lips and was inexplicably infected by her sorrowful aura. Sister Xue, she looks so pitiful. It makes me want to cry. Su Yingxue patted Su Miaoyan's shoulder and went forward with her. She said gently, "Excuse me, this is the courtyard of the Changxin Marquis Madam. Is it convenient for us to meet Madam?" The old woman suddenly turned around and immediately stood up. "It's Madam's courtyard, but who are you? Why do you want to see Madam?" Su Yingxue and Su Miaoyan looked like young ladies of noble families. Their auras were also extraordinary. The old woman was even more puzzled. "Su Xinlan has never allowed anyone to visit our Madam. How did you come in?" "Of course, we found our way in. Su Xinlan can't do anything to Sister Xue and me." Su Miaoyan winked mischievously. "Sister Xue?" The old woman was the dowry of the Changxin Marquis Madam, and her name was the character Sang. She was originally Old Madam Sang, but after being tortured, she became Granny Sang. When she heard this, her mind spun and she looked at Su Yingxue in shock. "Miss, could it be that you, the future 9th Princess Consort, Su Yingxue?" Old Madam has lived here for a long time. You know Sister Xue." Su Miaoyan pouted her lips at Su Yingxue, indicating that she was awesome. Su Yingxue pinched her face and smiled faintly. I am here to pay my respects to Madam. I heard that Madam has been suffering from consumption for many years. My medical skills are shallow, so I came to treat Madam. This is the best thing that could happen." Old Madam Sang was so excited that she almost overturned the dustpan that was used to hold the water chestnuts. She quickly cleared the table and entered the room with the water chestnuts. She shouted, "Madam, there's a new doctor here to treat you. It is the 9th Princess Consort. 9th Princess Consort." Old Madam Sang's voice woke the person on the bed up. Su Yingxue heard a series of heavy coughs followed by the sound of vomit. She thought to herself, "It seems that the Changxin Marquis Madam is indeed beyond cure." "So what? Sister Xue, your medical skills are so amazing. It's not a problem for you to revive the dead." Su Miaoyan raised her small face and had a blind admiration for Su Yingxue. Chapter 753. The Same Enemy, Su Xinlan. Su Yingxue once again wanted to pinch Su Miaoyan's face, but she quickly dodged, saying, "One won't let you pinch me anymore. I still have to maintain my complexion to show it to my handsome brother." He said one looked cute. "Ah, this is all for your handsome brother. You won't even let your sister show affection," Su Yingxue teased. Su Miaoyan murmured. Handsome brother is kind to me. Of course, I want to keep my face intact to make him happy when he sees me. At the mention of Xiaoyu, the smile on Su Miaoyan's face brightened even more. Su Yingxue had thought that old Madame Sang would quickly let her in to see the Chongqing Marquis Madame, but unexpectedly old Madame Sang did not emerge. Instead, there were intense screams from inside. Even if I die of illness, I won't accept charity from those surnamed Su. Su Xinlan wants to crush my pride, seize my power, harm my children, and then flaunt her success to me. She can forget about it. Hearing this, Su Yingxue took a deep breath. Su Miaoyan clicked her tongue. This madam has a bad temper. This madam must have been quite spirited too. Su Yingxue nodded. But women are ultimately inferior to men. Madame Su now has a daughter, and I'm afraid Su Xinlan is using her as leverage, especially considering her illness. That's why she has to compromise for the sake of her children. What a pitiful person. Therefore, Su Yingxue didn't intend to argue about being scolded. She walked directly into the inner room, lifting the heavy gauze curtains. Standing in front of Madame Su, she said, "If you want to live another 2 years, don't scream like before. You. Who let you in? Get out." Su Aoqing grabbed a pillow, about to throw it at Su Yingxue. Old Madame Sang quickly stood in front of Su Yingxue, taking the hit from the pillow. She then placed it behind Su Aoqing and tearfully advised her, "Madam, you can't. This Miss Su is not only the legitimate daughter of the Marquis of Marshall South's manor, but also the future 9th Princess Consort. You can't treat her like this. Besides, Miss Su is here to treat you with good intentions." What good intentions? If the Su family could produce someone like Su Xinlan, how could there be any good people? Old General Su had a great reputation throughout his life. If he could raise a daughter like Su Xinlan, how could the Su family produce any good people? Su Aoqing glared at Su Yingxue, her red eyes filled with hatred towards Su Xinlan, wishing to tear Su Yingxue into 1,000 pieces. My sister Xue is different from Su Xinlan. She's a genius doctor who has saved the deceased consort Xiang, cured fatal diseases, and even performed surgeries. She knows how to treat all the illnesses that doctors of the Great Qing dynasty can treat, and even those they cannot. If you still want to live, you better not offend my sister Xue. Su Miaoyan spoke without pause, her face not showing any sign of embarrassment or breathlessness, effectively controlling Su Aoqing. Ignoring everything else, Su Yingxue's current identity as the 9th Princess Consort and her unparalleled medical skills were enough to inspire fear and admiration. Yet, Su Aoqing remained unwilling. Su Yingxue calmly stated, "Madame's consumption is mainly caused by mental illness. If you want to cure your illness, you must first relax. Let me tell you something else. You decide whether you want me to treat you." Su Aoqing scolded her for a long time before she said this, and she did so without anger or annoyance, appearing very calm and composed. This made Su Aoqing admire her to some extent and sparked her curiosity. "What is it?" "Madam and I have the same enemy, Su Xinlan." Su Yingxue's voice fell lightly. Chapter 754. The wind she longs for. Old Madame Sang widened her eyes. How could it be? Su Aoqing also wore a face of disbelief. While they both were in shock, Su Yingxue briefly summarized the situation to help them understand her intentions. Su Aoqing's expression changed several times, first shocked, then angrily cursed, simply heartless. To be willing to do such ruthless things to one's own family. You're the Su family's lady, her niece. How can she do this? Su Aoqing clutched her aching chest and coughed heavily, spitting out 2 mouthfuls of blood. Su Yingxue quickly approached, pressing on her pulse and then stuffing a piece of mint grass into her mouth. The mint grass was fresh and pleasant, making Su Aoqing's breath less turbid. She took a few breaths, her breathing became smooth, and her complexion also improved significantly. During this process, Su Yingxue had already felt her pulse. Su Aoqing's illness was indeed difficult to treat. If this continued, she would die within 2 years. "Miss Su, do you think our madam can still be treated? Please save our madam. Madam is pitiful." Old Madame Sang immediately knelt. She kowtowed to Su Yingxue and cried continuously, evoking sympathy. Su Yingxue instructed, Miaoyan, help old Madame Sang up. Yes. Su Miaoyan quickly helped old Madame Sang up and said, Old Madame Sang, don't kneel to my sister. Sister treats people with kindness. She doesn't expect such gestures from you. It's too much, and sister will feel uncomfortable. Old Madame Sang quickly stopped crying, still in disbelief. Is that so? Su Miaoyan nodded. Su Yingxue gave her an appreciative look. Su Miaoyan knew her well. Su Miaoyan and Su Yingxue cooperated well. Su Yingxue diagnosed the illness, performed acupuncture, and prescribed medicine seamlessly. When she got up to prepare medicine for Su Ouching, she also took down the heavy curtains in the room. Old Madame Sang was shocked. This? Miss Su. The doctor said the curtains must be properly hung. They said Madame's consumption can't be exposed to the wind. Otherwise, her condition will worsen. She won't recover. Which doctor said such nonsense? Your Madame's illness requires daily ventilation by opening the window and coughing into the wind. This helps to expel the stagnant air from her lungs and bring in fresh air. Su Yingxue threw the gauze curtain aside and let Su Miaoyan watch. She went to a secluded spot in the courtyard and entered Medicine King Valley. Old Madame Sang watched as the curtain was pulled down. The wind blew in through the window, causing Su Ouching to start coughing. She stood anxiously by Su Aoking's bed, spinning around. This? What should we do? Madam, you've exposed yourself to the wind. Will your condition worsen? You. Move aside. Chapter 755. Yi Lingbai misunderstood. Yi Lingbai was shocked the moment he heard Su Yingxue's name. Surnamed Su? What's your relationship with Su Xinlan? Thief. Leave my mother's courtyard quickly. How dare you hurt my mother again? I'll fight it out with you. He attempted to chase Su Yingxue away while Su Yingxue explained, My surname is Su, but I'm your mother's doctor. This is the medicine I prescribed for her. Surnamed Su, what good doctor could there be? You're just like that vicious woman, Su Xinlan. You only know how to harm people. Get lost. Yi Lingbai grabbed a rod from the courtyard and attacked Su Yingxue. His movements were swift and accurate, forcing her to put down the medicine and engage in combat. During this time, Su Yingxue also practiced martial arts, making progress in both internal and external techniques. So when Yi Lingbai fought with her, she immediately pulled out her soft whip from her waist. The whip danced like a snake, seemingly light. Dodging a move, Yi Lingbai watched as the whip landed on a stone stool and shattered it. Yi Lingbai widened his eyes. You have strong martial arts? He hated them even more now. Anyone surnamed Su and related to Su Xinlan was always so formidable. But just because they were so powerful, did they have to bully him and his mother? Anger surged in Yi Lingbai's eyes. He swung his cudgel in a whirlwind towards Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue, with enough internal energy, whipped out and entangled the cudgel, forcing Yi Lingbai to let go. Then she rolled up the long stick and raised it in the air. Pa! With a crisp sound, the rod shattered into pieces just like the stone stool earlier. Yi Lingbai instinctively grabbed the saber at his waist. But while he was still hesitating, Su Yingxue's whip had already swung towards him. He gritted his teeth, gave up drawing his saber, and moved quickly to get in front of Su Yingxue, aiming to punch her and knock her down. Seeing that he had no weapon, Su Yingxue put away her whip and fought him barehanded. The two of them were fighting fiercely when Su Ouching heard the commotion inside. Old Madame Sang, go out and see what happened. Hey! Old Madame Sang responded. Su Miaoyan also ran out. She saw Su Yingxue fighting with a strange man. After observing for a moment, she shouted, Sister Xue, you can do it. Good luck. This man seemed to have good martial arts, but he was not Su Yingxue's match. He was very strong, but his moves were not as ingenious as Su Yingxue's. Su Yingxue exchanged a few moves with Yi Lingbai. After figuring out his moves, she leaped into the air, drew her whip, and swung it at him. Yi Lingbai was knocked to the ground. He pulled out his scabbard to block. He knew that this whip, containing powerful internal energy, would tear his skin and flesh. He was prepared to take the hit and continue attacking. Pa! After a loud thud, old Madam sang threw herself onto Yilingbai in horror and shouted, "Miss Su, please have mercy. This is eldest young master." Suing nodded and silently put away the whip. She turned around and went to the table to get the medicine. Yilingbai stood up and shielded old Madam Sang behind him. Old Madam Sang, "Don't be afraid. Even if I die, I won't let her hurt you and mother." He looked impulsive, but he did not attack at this moment. He roared at Suing Shue, "Don't think that he'll show mercy next time just because you didn't hit me this time. Suing Shue, he'll chase you out today." "Humph. You want my sister to stay? My sister isn't that free yet." Su Miaoyan immediately jumped out and glared at Yilingbai. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.